or sawed-off shotguns. The rule, impacting at least 3 million guns in circulation in the U.S., was quickly challenged by gun rights groups, arguing it's a violation of Second Amendment protections.
Fox's Matt Napolitano. Late sell-off on Wall Street. The Dow down 231 at the bell. America's listening to Fox News.
Jason in the house.
JV International Safety Equipment has it all for you. Fall protection, rain gear, traffic signs, speed bumps, custom signs and banners, PPEs, fire extinguishers, plus more. Check them out on Facebook at JV International Safety Equipment Company or visit their website, www.jvisec.com. JV International Safety Equipment, Guam's leader in occupational and environmental safety equipment. Call 688-9524. JV International Safety Equipment, located in Harmon Industrial Park.
Subway's new Subway Series menu is a collection of greatest hits. But my number 7, the Mexicali, is on a whole nother level with the way avocado meets chicken and pepper jack cheese.
Outlaw! You tell them, Raiden. That's the number 2, the Outlaw Sandwich. They don't know flavor.
It's the greatest cheesesteak hit with juicy steak, pepper jack, and Baja Chipotle sauce. There's a better meat and cheese pairing than that. Shanzi, justify my point, please.
Meatball, pepperoni, and mozzarella. That's number 6, the Boss Sandwich, because we're the bosses of flavor. We're done here.
At Subway, you gotta refresh to be fresh.
Report on clergy sex abuse in Illinois reveals more allegations than first thought, going back decades.
Illinois Attorney General Kwame Raoul says state investigators found from 1950 to 2019, 451 Catholic clerics sexually abused nearly 2,000 children.
It is my sincere hope that this report will shine light on those who violated their positions of power and trust to abuse innocent children, and on the men in church leadership who covered up that abuse.
Explaining there are far more victims than the 103 the church previously acknowledged. A preliminary report by Raoul's predecessor alleges the state's diocese deemed only 26% of allegations they received to be credible, not investigating or deeming the remaining 74% to be unsubstantiated.
Fox's Kristen Goodwin, one survivors group urging more attorneys general and prosecutors to investigate. The White House says Russia should immediately release 2 detained Americans and that it's deeply concerned about the detention of Wall Street Journal reporter Evan Gerskovich being extended for another 3 months today at a court hearing that was not announced in advance. Britain's Prince Harry loses a court fight over a British government decision that blocks him from private payment for police protection when visiting the UK.
Lawyers for the government opposed allowing wealthy people to buy their own security from police. Prince Harry originally applied for judicial review of a Home Office decision that kept him from personally paying for police protection. In 2021, while he and his family were in the UK, Prince Harry claims he doesn't feel safe bringing his young children, who are 4 and 2, from the U.S. to visit.
Fox's Michelle Polino. Prince Harry lost his taxpayer-funded police protection when he and wife Meghan Markle decided to step back for royal duties and move to California. Recapping Wall Street, stocks were mixed early on, but headed south amid more debt limit worry. The Dow dropping 231. I'm Lisa Brady, Fox News.
The Guy Benson Show will be back in 1 minute.
What's for breakfast at KFC under $3.95, you ask? What's for breakfast at KFC that's different than the other guys, you ask? KFC's chicken wrap, sausage wrap, the Colonel's chicken congee, chicken fried steak, sausage biscuit and gravy, and biscuit sandwiches made with KFC's original fluffy biscuits. All for under $3.95 and all only at KFC. Plus, with waffles and the Colonel's chicken fried rice, we've got something for everyone.
So visit KFC for breakfast today. It's finger-licking good.
We don't want you standing in long lines. It's just not right. So Bank Pacific provides excellent online and mobile banking and 24/7 access to your money with our Visa debit cards. And if you want to visit any of our 4 offices, please do so, because we're short on lines and long on service, open Fridays until 6 and on Saturday mornings. Goodbye to the frustration of waiting in long lines. Say hello to Bank Pacific. It'd be our privilege. Bank Pacific, member FDIC.
With decades experience in Guam and the region, Take Care members have access to the largest offering of free fitness classes and health education programs. Membership also includes the high-quality credentialed network of on- and off-island healthcare providers and the one-stop FHB Health Center and Urgent Care. Ask for Take Care. Call 671-647-3526. Go to takecareasia.com for more information. Take Care. Our island, your health plan.
6:06 on the point, and it's time for Morning News with Donna D.
Save over $1,300 a year when you bundle your business mobile, internet, and phone at...
Wait a second. Now I know what Joe goes through.
All flights to and from Guam have been canceled while Guam is in Core 1. Travelers coming to or from Guam should contact their respective airline for the latest updates on their flight status or go to guamairport.com. Public Health's Northern Community Health Center in Dedido and Southern Community Health Center in Inarajan will remain open throughout Super Typhoon Mawar. And Governor Lulian Guerrero issued an executive order yesterday morning for the mandatory evacuation of residents in low-lying, flood-prone, and coastal areas, especially in southern villages. Those residents should have already sought shelter in private residences or government shelters. GWA advises customers in the south to conserve water. The community is advised to stay indoors until Core 4 is announced. And the American Red Cross is mobilizing volunteers and resources that will evolve along with the needs of the community. Currently, a team of volunteers is on island to help support the response. Additional resources and workforce stand ready as the needs arise. Guam Chapter Executive Director Cheetah Blaze recommends that all households have an emergency kit and stay tuned to the latest information. Red Cross also encourages local residents to learn about ways to volunteer in the event of needs post-storm. Preparedness resources can be found online at redcross.org/prepare. Information and registration to be a volunteer is on redcross.org/volunteer. And those are your top stories right here on The Point. Now here's Ray with your weather.
Well, considering we took things backwards, maybe we'll start off with the first part of the news here in just a second.
Docomo Pacific. Some conditions apply. Visit business.docomopacific.com to get an instant quote. Docomo Pacific Business. Work better together.
Today and good morning, Guam. It's Wednesday, May 24. I'm Donna DeJesus with a look at your local news on The Point. Typhoon Mawar is now a Category 5 super typhoon and has been maintaining its course toward Guam with maximum sustained winds of 155 miles per hour. Super Typhoon Mawar is moving at 8 miles per hour and is expected to make a slight turn northwest. The National Weather Service says there's high potential for a direct hit by midday today. Forecasters are predicting this storm to be catastrophic and worse than Super Typhoon Pongsonghua in 2002. Warning coordination meteorologist Landon Eidlet says by tomorrow morning, the landscape will be radically altered. Science and Operations Officer Brandon Eidlet says those not in a fully reinforced concrete structure are at substantial risk to injury or death, and adds that most, if not all, of the island would be without power and communications by tonight. He says tropical storm winds are likely to remain until tomorrow morning, and there's potential for a 36-hour period of at least tropical force winds. Meanwhile, President Joe Biden has approved an emergency declaration for Guam and has ordered federal assistance to supplement local response efforts. The declaration authorizes FEMA to coordinate all disaster relief efforts intended to alleviate hardships caused by the emergency and to provide assistance for required emergency measures. A release states that emergency protective measures under the Public Assistance Program will be provided at 75% federal funding. Governor Lulian Guerrero declared a state of emergency on May 21, stressing that Mawar represented an imminent, credible, and significant threat to the health, safety, and welfare of Guam. The next day, she sent a letter to Biden informing him that supplementary federal assistance would be necessary to save lives and protect property on island. We'll have more news after this.
Well, actually, we're going to leave that and move into the weather. Do I have the weather music? Hold on a second. We'll explain why everything is upside down here in just a second. There it is. The weather music. Damaging tropical storm force winds increased to typhoon force winds by late morning. Today, north winds 30 to 45 miles an hour near sunrise will increase into the 70 to 80 mile an hour range by late morning, becoming east and increasing to 120 to 155 miles around noon, then decreasing to near 75 miles an hour by sunset. Variable typhoon force wind directions are possible across southern Guam. There's cloudy with widespread locally heavy showers and thunderstorms, highs around 81 degrees, and chances of showers about 100%, as you might imagine. Typhoon force winds tonight, south winds 90 to 125 miles an hour early this evening. Then it'll slowly decrease, 55 to 75 miles after sunset, further 40 to 55 miles an hour after midnight. Cloudy skies, widespread locally heavy showers and scattered thunder showers, and overnight lows of about 73 cooler degrees. Tropical storm force south winds 30 to 45 miles an hour shortly after sunrise will decrease even more on on Thursday morning. 20 to 35 mile an hour winds expected by the afternoon hours. Cloudy and widespread locally heavy showers and isolated thunderstorms are going to continue to remain in the forecast area. Breezy by Thursday night. Cloudy, numerous showers, isolated thunderstorms, and by Friday we go back to a regular forecast featuring mostly cloudy skies. 40% chance of showers, slight chance of thunderstorms, southeast winds up to about 20 miles an hour, and highs around 85 degrees. Don't have the sunrise, sunset deal. I can look out the window and see that the sun, for the most part, is up over most of at least the central part of the island. Good morning, and I don't going to explain things first and then figure out how to do all of the rest of it. Portions of the program, of course, brought to you by APL, American President Lines, a global presence with a local home, and Kim and Ron over at Security Title. Now, just want to let you know what's going on here in the studios. I was hoping to have a full staff here in the studio this morning. Joe is unable to make it. He's the only able-bodied guy around the house to take care of Ruckus. Donna, I believe, has cats. Which might be the thing. But between them, they are capable of assisting me by remote control from wherever they happen to be at. Donna will be providing remote control news, et cetera, et cetera. The phone lines are working up and operational, 888-8255, 888-TALK. The main machine is even online here this morning. I might be able to put up a couple of things that will be of interest to you. I got these early this morning, this video from former Governor Carl T.C. Gutierrez, and it's shots of the Inarahan pool. I don't know exactly when these shots were taken, but as you can see, this conversation about a storm surge is real. The water coming in from over the reef into the pool, now spilling into the park area and into the parking lot, and I think that's going to be the case for folks down south for sure as we make our way through this Mawar kind of Wednesday morning. At any rate, so now that you've got an idea of what the infrastructure of the program is going to be like, the basics of it are, and for some reason, I'm not sure, we're unable to broadcast to Facebook Live. I don't know that is necessarily anything that's being caused by the typhoon. I think maybe they made a change on their side, and all of a sudden, my permissions or whatever aren't going to be granted. You can find this program, audio and video, at thepoint.gu. We are on Rumble Live right now. We're also on YouTube Live right now. Just search for The Ray Gibson Show. Like, follow, share, and we'll see what we can do. 797, by the way, 797-8255 is the Mean Machine phone number. As I said, I don't have the usual Ray Gibson Show infrastructure, and that means I'm going to be counting on folks like you, wherever you happen to be able to tune in and see what it is that you can provide. If things are kind of interesting in your field of vision, between the slats of your shutters and maybe a little bit of a crack in the door in the garage so you can see outside and what's going on, maybe send in a couple of those pictures, 797-8255. And as the day gets longer, keep track of all of those things. My initial plan, obviously, was to do a 4-hour show. However, I don't know that I'm going to be able to do that, what with the lack of other personnel in the building to help me out with things other than you. So what may happen is definitely the first couple of hours. We've lined up some people to talk to here about what is happening with the governors and the government's response to the storm, what's happening with shelters, et cetera, et cetera. Also, what's happening with the weather. We will hear from the National Weather Service before too much longer and find out what the big deal is out there and what they are looking at and what they're going to be talking about. 888-8255, 888-TALK is the telephone number of the radio station. And we've and here's the other thing. I won't know it's you when I pick up the phone. I'm just going to have to call and pick up the phone and say, thanks for calling The Point. I'm Ray. Who's this?
Someone who's...
Wait a second. Good morning. Thanks for calling The Point. Buenos Aires. This is The Point. Yeah, it might be an even shorter show than I thought. Huh. All right. Well, maybe I'll take a break and settle all of those kinds of things and make sure that I might be able to get your voices on the air and find out what the other. Yeah. Maybe. Yep. That's what I thought. I got to push that button. Thanks for calling The Point. This is Ray. Who's this?
This is Ken.
Which one?
Leon Guerrero.
Buenos Aires, Ken Leon Guerrero. Good morning. And the first caller on The Point on a crazy kind of Wednesday morning.
Yeah, we're getting a lot of coverage in the mainland and the rest of the world because I'm up at 3 this morning. Since 3, I've been getting calls from all over the United States and Mexico. So apparently, this storm is getting quite a bit of coverage around the Western Hemisphere.
Family and friends all over the nation sending out greetings. Former Congressman Mike Sinicolas has sent me a greeting and hoping things are all right. Also got word from current Congressman Jimmy Craig Moylan. He may be calling in a little bit. There are some activities that are taking place in Washington, D.C., and as a result, he wants to let us know that he is kind of at the helping out at the forefront what they can do in Congress to see to the response and the recovery of the island. We know that FEMA has already been here for a couple of days. President Joe Biden yesterday, I believe late last night, went ahead and declared an emergency for Guam, following on Governor Lulian Guerrero's declaration of an emergency.
Well, this is going to be an interesting storm because I just got back from walking my 5 dogs, and I was standing up on the hill behind my house, and I could see all the way to the Pacific Ocean, and from my front I can see the Philippine Sea. So I'm surprised at how well the visibility is, considering how close this storm is. I don't know if you remember during...
I'll add that to the questions to ask to Landon when we get him on the line, because I'm looking at the weather radar, and it doesn't look like there's a whole lot between Guam and the eye right now. I'll put it up on the screen so viewers might be able to see the thing as well. I mean, we've got a little bit of feeder band activity that just passed over the island, and it looks like we're in for a blank spot, a little bit of a lull, and then from there it's pretty much the beginning of the eye, and on the other side of that is the eye wall, and then the eye. So, as you can see in real time as this thing is making its way forward to Guam, what we might be able to expect. Now, one note here, and it's something I just recently learned, is there is a big red spot in there. Hard to tell what's happening with the wind strength near the eye. It only will show one color for bad wind strength, and you're already seeing it right now. Might be higher than what some of the predictions and whatever radar models are that you might be looking at. But I've got Paul TePow on the other line, Kent, so I'm going to let you run.
All right.
Reach out to me a little bit later on and give me an idea of what a word picture, if you will, of what's going on at your place.
I will do that.
Right on. I appreciate it. 888-8255. 888-TALK is the telephone number. Sorry, I'm doing a little bit of a keyboard shuffle around here. I believe this is Paul TePow from the Guam Police Department. Buenos and half a day.
Hey, half a day, Ray. Thank you so much for the opportunity to express to our fellow Guamanians about the status of where we are here from the Joint Information at Guam Homeland Security.
Well, by all means. What are the kind of activities that are taking place right now, and what have they got you detailed to do?
So right now, I'm with an all-star crew right now with our joint communication. We're working closely with our comms director, Ms. Crystal Pacos and Augustine. But we really do want to thank you again, ThePOINT, for allowing us to spread the word about what's important and what our fellow Guamanians need to adhere and really address immediately. And that's, seek immediate shelter. If your home is not in a condition to withstand the expected forecasted winds, which we're anticipating Super Typhoon Mawar to be at 155 miles per hour. That is something where, hey, you know what, go to your nearest shelter. We do have shelters that are available in the north. That's Machinano Elementary School, Maria Ujoa Elementary School, Upi Elementary School, and Weddingale. We recently had a Stumbo, but they had maxed out into their capacity.
Wow.
We have shelters in the central area. We have BP Carbolito Elementary School, GW High School Elementary School. And for our southern villagers, you can visit Harry S. Truman Elementary School, Inalahan Middle School, Mauricio Martis Memorial School, and Talafofo Elementary School. Again, we are strongly advising our fellow Guamanians who may need shelter or seek shelter to please act now. Take advantage of the weather that's out there that's going to allow you to transport whatever it is that you need and to get the shelters. Again, there are rules that are in play. There are no contrabands that are going to be permitted. Please bring your bug out kit or your necessities such as your important documents, medication that you're going to need for at least for the duration of the stay or even 1 week, your own food and and your own perishables such as water and what have you for your baby needs. But we are advising, again, those that need shelters, please go to the immediate shelter. We're asking again those that are in our low-lying, high flood areas, especially in our coastal areas, to please seek, please seek shelter. Again, those that are in our low-lying, high flood areas, especially in our coastal areas, to please seek shelter. We're asking again those that are in our low-lying, high flood areas, especially in our coastal areas, to please seek seek higher grounds. The governor, our good governor, Governor Lulian Guerrero, issued an executive order number 2023-03 relative to mandatory evacuation of low-lying coastal areas. So we're working closely with our village mayors, our coastal mayors, the Guam Police Department, DPW, and ensuring that those that are in the low-lying coastal areas, that they are being assisted in properly evacuating. Again, we're asking each and every Guamanian that's out there to please adhere to what we're putting out from the Joint Information Center to the community. We're going to be providing all the information that we can, and if anybody has any information, to please give us a call. We're going to be here until the duration of the storm, and of course, all the way through to once the governor declares a condition of readiness 4.
That it's going to be some time before that happens. It looks like we're going to have a long day ahead of us, waiting on the approach of the storm, the arrival of the storm, and then the departure of the storm. They're still talking in the news, National Weather Service, about inclement and destructive winds even after later in the evening. And so it'll be nighttime, and you'll think that things have subsided and quieted down, but it will still be dangerous, and maybe too dangerous to get moving around outside. I thought as I was driving in this morning, I'd just give you my own observations. I came in through MTM through Teedson and then onto Marine Corps Drive, quiet like it was a religious holiday. There wasn't anybody on the road at all. I saw one pedestrian look like he was making his way, looking for someplace to dodge the rain in the few minutes that he had. But otherwise, there wasn't anybody out there. And I frankly, I think that's a good thing. However, now that once the sun is up and you've had an opportunity to ponder your situation, if you think that you are in substandard housing, if you think that you're someplace where you might need to evacuate, don't wait. You'll only endanger yourselves and first responders. Make your way to the nearest mayor's office, and if it's closer to get to the nearest shelter, then do that.
Yeah, absolutely. You're 100% correct. This is where we stress it. Now is the time. Take advantage of the opportunity that presents itself, because once the onset of the super typhoon approaches, we advise the community, please bunker down, stay where you're at, shelter in place. Don't make any attempts to come on the roadway, because our first responders may not be able to reach in time. So, we got to think of the worst case scenario. But the best thing that we can do is help our fellow Guamanians prepare and plan, and of course get them the help that they need. And we want to thank again ThePOINT for the opportunity.
Happy to do it. If you don't mind, a couple more questions. I know that members of the Guard were mobilized last night to assist in the mandatory evacuation of these low-lying areas. I did not hear anything after that. Have they been mobilized? Have people been taken from their homes and put into shelters?
Yeah, we're going to be working with the village mayors, and I think we're going to get the assessment from the RAC over the EOC side. Mm-hmm. And once we get a full brief as to the operations and how it went, we'll provide more information to the greater community.
Roger.
But yeah, we're working at that, because we do know our usual suspects for the inundated flooding, and of course this is where the coastal flooding is a major concern. We want to make sure that we are, no pun intended, all our ducks are in a row, and we get everything, ready for this approaching storm. So now is the time. Take advantage of the opportunity. Get to your shelters. As the storm approaches, please bunker down, shelter in place, and please stay off the roadways and wait for the declaration of Core 4, and then allow our emergency vehicles and our essential government government vehicles to assess, such as our utilities, our power, and our water, to make that assessment. So, we want to bring our island back in an expeditious way.
Build back better, as Biden says. But having said all that, activities with the police department and first responders, what kind of night has it been for the new 911 center? Are they as busy as I thought they might be?
Oh, man, we are. Everybody's full-on operation. We have, dealing with, working with the shelters, working with DOE, doubling up our patrol officers. Everybody, all hands are on deck for this storm. So, we're working in ensuring the safety of the entire community. Both the preparation, the onset, and of course after the storm has passed.
All right. Well, the deal that I've made with Crystal is I can only stay on as long as I've got information. So keep feeding me information.
Absolutely.
If there are other individuals at the JIC that may have something that they can provide to us a little bit later on, you've got the telephone number 671-888-8255, and we'll as much as we possibly can maintain a line of communication between you and I and all of our listeners and viewers.
Absolutely, Ray.
All right,
absolutely, Ray. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Stay safe, my brother. God bless.
Well, I intend to. I'm still trying to decide what it is I want to do with my life after the program is done, or whatever the coverage is going to be. There's a part of me that wants to go home and see what's happening out there, and then there's a part of me that wants to stick around here and see what kind of news and information pops up. I think it all depends on the nature of all of the telecom and electricity and internet stuff that we've got around here. This is Ray Gibson. Thanks for calling The Point. Who's this?
Hi, Ray. This is Doug Moylan.
Attorney General Doug Moylan. How are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you.
What is
the call and
give me a situation. Give me a situation report. What are you looking at? What do things look like in your backyard?
Up in the Cheche, it was actually rather quiet. You know, all day yesterday was compared to what you would think is coming. I saw it as it was increasing its power with the how quiet it was yesterday, relatively speaking, and today it's still there's not really too much wind. So I presume this thing is getting stronger, pulling in the energy as it did in Pamela and so forth.
You know, I've got no basis to disagree with that. I thought the same thing yesterday. I finished up as much as I could before 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, because I figured we were going to start to see the onset of some of that damaging wind moving through yesterday afternoon. Right. It turned out to be a nice day, almost. I mean, mostly cloudy, a little bit of a breeze, occasional showers, and frankly, that allowed me to get a little bit more work done outside than I thought I was going to be able to conduct a little bit more by way of inspection, double checking the knots on the ropes that I use to tie things down. So all of the additional time that we had yesterday, and maybe a little bit of time this morning between now and about 10 or 11 o'clock before things really start to get hairy. So if there's last minute preps that you need to do, or something that you thought of in the middle of the night while you couldn't sleep, now would be a good time to take advantage of a little bit of light and lighter wind conditions.
Right, silver linings. You know, I think those of us that are our age right now, this is your standard operating procedure on typhoons. But when I heard that thing coming in as a dry season typhoon, I something about it said Pamela all over again, and the warm waters. Whenever there's warm waters in the oceans, it generates the intensity. I look at our weather forecasters, and they're about the age of my son, and I was kind of shaking my head and going, when I was 10 years old, you were 13, Barragata Heights, we saw that thing coming at us. So being a man of a certain age and it being this time of year, all of the recollections are moving around in my head and trying to remember, okay, how did we do it back then? What was it that I learned from my grandma and Uncle Jim and Uncle Joe and Uncle Gun that I might be able to continue to use today? But we've got so many different advantages now than they had then. Back then it was once every as soon as the typhoon chasers would come back in, maybe look at a satellite image. That was the extent of the information that we had. I'm looking at people that are watching on YouTube and Rumble and ThePOINT.gu live are watching real time the movements of Mawar. That little dot with the little red space underneath. That is the eye of Mawar, and we didn't have access to things like that in the time. After. Yeah, that was those satellite photos. They had the Hercules. Mm-hmm. They used to fly those planes into it. That was way back when, and some say that is more accurate to get the actual wind speeds, but those guys were cowboys to fly those planes right into the eye of the storm.
Absolutely. A bunch of heroes, and you're right. I don't recall seeing anything that looked like satellite imagery of Typhoon Pamela, Super Typhoon Pamela, until well after the storm had passed Guam. How's your electricity up at your place? You good?
The Cheche Dedito, it stayed on. There were some power glitches, but it's on and it stayed on last evening. So credit to GPA and how they've hardened the system for all these decades. But one of the problems in Pamela, if you remember, was the water trucks when they would come around and you have to get your potable water and then your drinking water. None of the pumps had generators back then.
Well, I talked to John Benavente yesterday, and he said that at some point, probably last night, the guys over at Guam Power Authority took control of electricity over at the water pump sites, and they've got everything that they need, and they have been hardened as much as they possibly can. So hopefully, while it might not be a hot shower, it might be a shower when this is all said and done. Doug, I appreciate your time. I appreciate your thoughts here. Believe it or not, I've got your cousin on the other line, so I'm going to jump to him.
Go to it, Ray.
All right,
Stay
roger
safe.
that. You too. You stay safe as well. That's now Attorney General Doug Moylan. I have Congressman Jimmy Craig Moylan on the line. Buenos and half a day from Washington, D.C.
Half a day, Ray. I'm glad you're on your show today. I appreciate you getting the word out to everybody.
Me too.
Most appreciated.
Me too. Happy to be here. Because you know what? There's electricity here and there's air conditioning. I got a feeling it before too much longer. I will have slept my last night in air conditioning before a while, and the last good hot shower before a while. I got earlier this morning, and after that, now I think I got to get used to cold water tabo baths. Unless, well, it depends on what you're doing in Washington D.C. As I said, the White House last night backed up Governor Lulian Guerrero and said, "Yeah, we'll back you up on this emergency declaration." FEMA's already on the ground. What can you do in Congress to help?
Well, we've been, of course, spreading the word. We're letting everybody know in Congress what's going on with our beautiful island of Guam and asking for prayers. Just the other day, I was on session floor expressing to Congress and the Speaker there of what's needed for Guam and what's happening and the possible disasters knocking on our doorstep with Mariana Islands and most especially back home on Guam. We are busy here getting what we need in place, and I've also talked with our participating art agencies here with FEMA just earlier today. We had a Zoom meeting with FEMA and NOAA and Department of Homeland Security, Federal Communications Commission, the Department of Defense, and the U.S. Coast Guard, too. We wanted to hear their plans and what I could do in Congress to assist with the Republican Party and the leadership under Kevin McCarthy. Today, I also met with Steve Scalise for his assistance to him, who is our majority whip, to let him know. And I got Congress really looking out for us, for Guam. This morning, we started our GOP conference with a prayer for Guam as well, nice. to just really ensure. So just about every member in Congress, especially those in charge of committees, know what the importance is to Guam. And now here we are with a natural disaster at our doorsteps that hasn't happened in over 20 years. And we got to, it's going to be devastating if hopefully, but if God permits, it could just pass us by and we're well taken care of and prepared. Then I just came out of my meeting with Kevin McCarthy, Speaker of the House, too, and he has pledged also with the support and prayers of the 118th Congress to do whatever we can to support our federal agencies, to support our island of Guam and the people of Guam most especially.
Do they have mosquito coil, Jimmy?
Yeah, I'm sure we're going to
help out. The whatever department or agency is in charge of mosquito coil, make sure that they are contacted and send stuff over. On a serious note, though, I'm kind of laboring over a couple of concerns. We know this is going to be a big story. You were around during Typhoon Pamela as well, and all the big ones since then. You know what devastation and destruction these storms, especially at these wind speeds, are going to bring, and it's not moving fast enough in my mind. So I'd like it to be. I'm worried that it's going to bring these heavy winds over the island, and it's going to be an elongated amount of time before it clears off. Having said that, one of the other concerns is, all right, let's say that we go back to Core 4. Everybody, peeks their heads out from behind the shutters and starts looking around, and okay, well, the weather had come down, or I need to replace the shack over on the side. I got to put some windows in here. And as you know, we just don't have the number of handymen around town and construction guys to be able to do that. I think immediately one of the things that we ought to be calling for is to whatever degree it's available to us and is practical, suspension of the Jones Act, so that we can get as many places and as many couriers as possible bringing in men, equipment, and supplies out to Guam to be able to help us rebuild in a hurry. And I suppose the other part of that is what do we need to do to make more liberal our visa requirements so that we can bring in a whole lot of guys from, say, the Philippines, et cetera, that can help us rebuild.
Yes, and I know with FEMA's assistance, them watching out too, and they're pre-positioning a lot of the supplies that we need. But still, even before the storm, we had a shortage of labor, and now it's even going to be greater. If more of our residents there need emergency house repairs too. So it's one thing to get the tarps and some food and water, but how do we rebuild our businesses, rebuild our homes, and for our farmers as well. So that's the important part. It just brings more emphasis because of our location, and we don't have people that can easily drive across the state line borders.
That's right.
To get back and help us out, and hopefully no damage to our ports and airfields too. How do we take care of that problem? So that brings it more important to what we need in Guam, being so isolated, but being such forward in for the United States there in the defense of the nation. But we need the help right now. And that point will get across to my Republican members, and I think we can get our voices even heard much more. They're relying upon us right now, especially for our situation with Communist Chinese Party. But what's important right now is the people of Guam. And if anything, Ray, I would really like to be back home. That's
Yeah, I wish you were here with me too.
Yeah.
I'll show you how to answer the phones and put commercials on the radio and do all of that kind of thing. I'm working a little bit handicapped this morning, but I think I've got everything under control. Look, I appreciate hearing from you, and I'm glad that you are aware of the concerns that we've got out here, and there are administrative things that can be done working with the White House and as governor, but maybe there are other ways that a congressman might be able to help out here as we make our way out from under this. Hey, are you going to be back Are you going to be back in time for that big deal that they're doing for former Congresswoman Madeline Zebradallo?
I sure want to be in.
Did you see where she's 90? Can you imagine?
Yeah.
Here, I'm going to complain. I'm going to reminisce about typhoons from like Pamela, and she's going to be able to go back and start talking about typhoons from before I was born, Karen, etc.
Yeah, she's a history there, and she can really express it well. And I'm fighting to make sure I can get on my flights back home, and if all goes well, I want to be there and be all hands on deck, along with my district office there too, to help out with everybody we can. And that's my duty as well. One thing to be in D.C., but even better to be back home.
All right. Well, we'll be here. Call me if you need me. I'm not going anywhere for a couple hours. We'll see how it plays out.
All right, great. Thanks for keeping everybody informed, sir.
Roger that. I'll talk to you pretty soon. 888-8255-888-TALK is the telephone number. Excuse the voice moving in and out of my range for the microphone. Some of the buttons I need to push are it's a wider than it is taller room, so I've got to reach over and grab something. So that was Jimmy, and I don't know who is this because it's also coming in from a Washington, D.C. number. This is Ray Gibson on 93.3 The Point. Who do I have the pleasure of addressing?
Hey, Ray, this is Chairman Ronna McDaniel from the Republican National Committee. I just wanted to give my prayers to everybody in Guam. I'm thinking about you as the super typhoon is heading your way.
Oh, thanks. That means so much. Big Sister Shelley hunkered down at the house with my nephew R.D., getting ready for a big blow. It's nice to hear from friends in high places.
Yeah, well, Shelley texted me, and she's been keeping me in the loop. How bad is it? Are you already seeing high winds, or what's going on?
You know what? It's a strange situation. First of all, it has been unpredictable. The moves of this typhoon over the course of the last 3 or 4 days has been uncertain, unpredictable, and so it's one of those things where you kind of have to wait until it's at your doorstep. And realistically, it is at our doorstep right now. Before noon today, we will see the onset of very, very destructive winds, and in some cases, winds that we have not seen since Typhoon Sangwa some 20 years ago. It is mimicking that storm. It is doing a lot of mimicking of Super Typhoon Pamela, which hit when I was 13 years old once upon a time. So there's a whole lot. The worst part of this, Ronna, is that there's a whole generation of people that have grown up and have never been through a storm like this. Like I said, last one was a generation ago, 20 some odd years since we had a big blow like this, and there are people that are unaware or unsure of how to prepare for a storm, what the recovery situation is going to be like, and I think that means that we're going to have to be a little bit busy on the communication side to let them know what they need to do, what the responsibilities are.
Well, Ray, I'm so thankful for you. I've been in your studio. I've been to Guam. Mm-hmm. I love Guam. I love the people of Guam, and I hope they're listening to you and getting really good advice on how to prepare. And I hope everybody's hunkering down. And of course, I know in Guam, everyone's going to look after their neighbor because it's just such a wonderful place. So thank you guys so much for all you're doing.
Well, thank you very much. It's nice to hear from you as well. I hope I get you back in the studio and maybe new and improved, build back better Guam.
Absolutely.
Right.
Well, prayers to Guam. We'll be keeping in touch. Shelley will let me know what's happening, but sending prayers your way from the Republican National Committee. Take care.
I feel seen, and I appreciate you. I'll talk to you soon. 888-8255-888-TALK as we go from one telephone to another and see who else is on the line. This looks like it's a local call. This is The Point. Who's this?
Yeah, this is Landon. How are you?
You mean Landon, as in Landon Idlet from the National Weather Service?
That is correct.
You sound a little bit nasal. Did you pick something up over the last couple of days?
No, but I've been sleeping for about 90 minutes on the floor in my office, and it's been a long night. So oh my gosh!
I can only imagine. I can only imagine. And kudos to you and the double team that you guys are working with over at the WFO. I'd like to exchange a lot of pleasantries, but frankly, there's a lot of people that are listening right now. What are we in for? When are we in for it? How bad is it going to be?
Yeah, I'm just getting the latest advisory out from the Joint Typhoon Warning Center, and I think there's one slight glimmer of good news. The storm has taken a little bit of a tumble in maximum intensity. There's been a bit of a dry air slot spinning into this super typhoon, and that's kind of hindered its strengthening trend. So that's a little bit of a glimmer of hope, but the bad news is it's still coming, and we're still looking at maximum winds. They have dropped in this latest advisory, as I'm reading it, down to 140 miles per hour. So that's a
wait, 140 miles or 140 knots?
140 miles per hour.
Huh.
And so that's down from 155 overnight. So that's a little bit of a slimmer of good news, but that's not much. That's as good as it gets. So I'm waiting for the forecast plots to come through.
What about the forward speed? The last time I looked at it, I thought where it was only doing about 3 knots.
Yeah, right now it's pushing about 6 miles per hour. So that has significant implication. This is going to be a long duration passage of a eye wall, very likely over Guam. I'm waiting for the plots to come through. Right now we're still looking at a dead set track on Guam. Which village, that remains to be determined, but that'll be coming into bear in line. We had an eye wall replacement cycle overnight, and that's just where the current eye wall decays, and we have a new one starting to form, and that sometimes weakens the storm intensity, and this is indicative of strong, mature typhoons. And so we did see that happening overnight, but it's starting to come together with a new eye wall, and that's going to be a new level of intense winds, showers, thunderstorms, torrential rainfall, and this is going to be pounding the islands closest to the passage with intense rainfall. So what we're seeing out there right now, we are between rain bands at the moment. I think there's been some discussion in my office. Again, I just woke up about 43 minutes ago, and I'm coming into some discussion. I think there's some push urging people that if you have not sought shelter yet,
go now.
So immediately. Your window of opportunity is shrinking. We are asking people before the next rain band gets in, like by 7 o'clock, if you need to get shelter, if you have any doubt of your building, your home, your residence that you're taking refuge in right now, if you need a place to shelter, get there now. We have a number of schools available, so get out there right now and get to the closest school. And for more information, call the Joint Information Center at 478-0208. Emergency shelter numbers is at 5 o'clock this morning. Everyone is below capacity. The highest is up north with a 70% capacity. So there's still room. If you have any doubt, please get to shelter because this is a serious event. We took a tumble down to 140 miles per hour. That is not much relief because we're still talking about Category 4 conditions. So
Roger that. I'm told that Estumbo is close to capacity. They've only got room for about 287 people, and I think they are there right now. So at that number, right, or closing in on it. So as a result of that, but don't listen. Go knock on a door. Somebody will let you in. They will find a spot for you. It ain't going to be the field house, but they will find a place for you and your family to hunker down and wait out this storm. It is, I keep looking at it, going, this is a monster. Although the radar signature seems to have changed a little bit. You're right. We had gone through what looked like one feeder band. We're in a little bit of a valley, a lull for you right now, and then another one popped up, and it looks like there might be another lull on the other side of that. But after that, it's eye wall. Did you say that we've got there will be 2 eye walls?
There's
an inner and outer.
2 eye walls. Yeah, we have the inner and outer. The inner one's replacing the outer one, so we're starting to see that new eye wall take shape. And so right there around that new eye wall are intense showers of rain banding right around the eye. And so this is going to be the trend. It's going to be coming our way. And whoever is under that eye wall, that's where the rainfall totals are maximized. And so there's some discussion also about increasing the rainfall potential for certain parts of the island. Whoever's under that eye wall where the showers just train over them, that's where the rainfall is going to be most significant. And so we talked about the spread of rainfall during the passage of Typhoon Pongsona. The spread was around 4 to 5 inches of rain for Mauricio, but 25 inches for central Guam. And it really depends on where this eye wall trains over a location. And you can get some significant rainfall totals. And this is a slow-moving system, so this will be quite a rainfall producer despite that drier air that's filtering in from the north. It's keeping us fairly dry right now by all intents and purposes.
Now, speaking of the eye wall, I mean, I'm not going to bug you about a closest point of approach. As I've been telling people, it doesn't need to, even a near miss is a hit as far as this storm is concerned. But if we do get an eye strike, do we know about how long it will be from one side of the wall to the other?
Yeah, realistically, we're looking at about 1 to 3 hours. This is not too big of an eye, so this thing will be marching on through. But we're putting that range because unless you're in the very middle part of that passage, it's going to be much shorter. And so we urge people, do not go outside. When you hear conditions beating on your house, your windows, your shutters, when they start to subside and get quiet, that does not mean the storm's over. You're in the middle of it.
Yeah.
And do not venture outside because the conditions are going to rapidly intensify again on the other side of the eye wall. So don't be fooled. This is the process of the passage of an eye. These are exciting times for Guam. These are dreadful times for Guam because this is the stuff that we planned for, but we always hoped it would never happen again, and here we are.
You use the words devastating, I think, and what, catastrophic? There it is, catastrophic. Yeah. Forecasters says Super Typhoon Mawar could be worse than Pongsangwa. And there's people that are alive that remember Pongsangwa and Pamela and Karen, and those were pretty mean and awful storms, but made worse because their time over Guam was so long. So as you said, I'm kind of hoping that there might be a couple of other glimmers of hope here. I'd like it to pick up speed, and that way, any time that it does spend over Guam is not elongated, and we'll get some of those smaller winds, relatively smaller winds, than have been predicted. How firm is that prediction? While I'm asking, it is still a few hours out from CPA.
Correct.
And so, how firm is that prediction that we might be able to enjoy lower strength winds by about 25 miles an hour?
Yeah, that looks more likely because, again, it's running out of time to really intensify. And until this eye wall really reforms itself, comes together with good form and shape, it's going to take time. These things don't just happen in a flash. But, again, we have about probably 6 to 8 hours before that passage reaches the island. And so we're still looking about early afternoon hours. And I'm still waiting for this latest track so I can get that pinpoint information through. But, yeah, this is going to be a brutal beating. And if you need to get the shelters, your window of opportunity is going to be wrapping up about 7:30. It doesn't look like much outside right now. It looks pretty fair and pleasant. But
unreal.
As the next couple hours go on, this stuff is going to go from a gradual, steady intensification over the island of winds to a very rapid, sharp increase of winds in a very short period of time as we go later through the morning.
Crazy. I was remarking with somebody just a few minutes ago how it was yesterday, and I thought I was only going to have a few hours to get stuff done. And as it turns out, it was one of the nicest nights I'd ever had. There was a decent sunset last night, and was able to get the majority of what I could get to done yesterday. Landon, I can't. Now's the time for pleasantries. I really, really appreciate the access to you and the two members of the team over at the National Weather Service. I know everybody listens and kind of hangs on every word that you've got to say about what's going to be happening here. The rest of it is all in documentation. Take advantage of the internet while we've got it. Take advantage of the electricity while you've got it to be able to download things. I think this is might be among the first times that I've seen in a typhoon advisory making sure that you've got a charged cell phone with you at all times. Never used to worry about that.
Yep. And I think it was probably during Pongsona. You had the fat back TVs now you have flat screen. So
oh yeah, Well, a friend of mine on Instagram put up a reel yesterday, and I had to laugh because she was dead on, and it was how we did typhoons when she was a kid, and she's not all that old, but and it was a Motorola flip phone, a Razor phone, and taking video of everything with a handheld camera, that kind of thing. And I thought, well, updating the MySpace page with the news. Landon, again, thanks very much over the National Weather Service. You've got the number. I don't have a producer here, so if you want to get on, just call.
Yes, absolutely. And I do recommend you wrap up before much longer and get home. Unless you want to be at the station all day.
Yeah, I got that feeling. I still haven't decided what the heck is going to be happening. Now that you've given me a little bit of encouragement, I might help it in my decision tree. I'll talk to you soon. Landon Idlet from the National Weather Service on the Ray Gibson Show. Although I don't want to say it's like the Ray Gibson Show here today, because it for some reason feels kind of like it's anything but, with all the people that are out there that are expressing concerns and sending prayers and best wishes to Guam. It feels like this is like a Guam show or something like that. You're more than welcome to join me. 888-8255, 888-TALK. When one voice drops off the air, it means I've got room for another one. Thanks for calling. Who's this?
Good morning. This is Carl Gutierrez.
Former Governor Carl T.C. Gutierrez is online, and I got to say, I think Governor Lulian Guerrero has given you a run for your money on the most disastered governor of Guam.
Well, yeah, this is the first one, and first one after I left office in 2002. I spent my last month in office, cleaning up after Typhoon Pongsonghua before Felix got in January.
Vivid memories of talking to you and getting your concerns on the top of Mount Barragata. We were the only voices on the air that morning after the all clear on Pongsonghua, and there was virtually no other radio signal on Guam, including the fire department, police department. Nobody was able to raise anything anywhere. I was able to work with Marvin Palmer to get one of our transmitters at Mount Barragata working, and he hands me a microphone in a very, very short cord, if you recall, and it was just yakking on the radio and letting people know that there was still life out there. It wasn't until you came up with Bob Kelly that I was able to get any indication of what the nature of the damage was, other than what I'd seen from Agana to Mount Barragata.
As I remember, I couldn't believe what you were doing out there at that time. But that's it. That you're a consummate radio broadcaster.
Well, we'll see how it plays out. We'll see how it plays out today. I don't know. It's everything has changed. I used to have staff. I used to have people and all kinds of other stuff. And all the old systems were electrical and analog. Now everything that we're playing around with, including the phone that you're on, is digital. So things would tend to go away if I start losing access to the internet and electricity and things like that. Then I guess everybody's on their own. But there are still some great lessons that people have learned. And you have been out and about and getting videos and pictures from people all morning long, huh?
Oh, no, that came from Mayor Tony in Irohan. He was trying to keep in touch with each other because that's one of the places that's going to be really impacted. So Mayor Tony is up and about just making sure his people are safe. And so he sent that to me. But Ray, I missed what your conversation was with Landon.
Oh, I'm sorry. So covered up the weather report. We've got a glimmer of good news. There's a pocket of dry air out there somewhere that is preventing it from getting to max capacity. So we might see winds not in up around 165 miles an hour. We're still going to get some pretty heavy gusts, but sustained winds maybe about 140 miles an hour. Still heavy, still damaging. But not as catastrophic and certainly not as end of the world destructive as we would have seen if it had stayed on that track.
This time back in 1976, I missed Typhoon Pamela. I was in Palau with all the hierarchy of Continental Air Micronesia and Continental leadership, and remember when that Pamela hit Shook Island, I think it killed 10 or 11 people from a landslide, and 3 days later made its way to Guam on May 21st, and that was devastating. We were the first airplane in from Palau to land at the airport, And that was terrible. But now this thing is really scaring the heck out of me.
Well, the things that have changed since then, as you know, and having been a part of the scene all of these years, is we've got good people. I want to say at places like the Guam Power Authority. JB has done an outstanding job hardening the system. One of the first questions I asked him yesterday was, do we have access to spare parts? Because I got a feeling that anything that's flying right now may literally be flying down the road. He says, we got transformers, we got all the arm buckles and yard arms and all of the other things and names of parts that you and I don't even know, but they've got plenty of them over at the Power Authority. A lot of concrete poles that are out there, many of them saved from Carl Gutierrez's administration because he stored them standing up. and they're my favorite Carl story. He stored them standing up, and so we've got a number of those and a lot more bucket trucks, a lot more cherry pickers than we used to have.
Yeah. Well, I have a lot of faith in Simon running the organization, and of course my primo John Benavente, and with the water itself, Michael Bardalio is I'm sure very much on top of these things, but it's not the same like it was 25 years ago when Paca hit while I was in just less than 2 years in office. But it's we've got, I think, a good system now. We've got a lot of money coming in that was raised by the GPA and Waterworks to upgrade our system. So, and I guess Governor Liu has really moved ahead by making sure that agency is prepared to pump water, and she's on top of things. And I'm very, very happy that she's on top of this thing right now with a lot of people behind her that had all these experience from way back when we had about 6 typhoons hit us during my administration.
Oh, what a time. Many people will remember those times. Governor Lulian Guerrero already in touch with the FEMA people are here on the ground and have been for several days. To what degree we have prepositioned anything, I don't know that yet. Maybe that's a conversation that can wait until after the all clear is sounded over a couple of days. But we know that there has been some, and we know that there have food and MREs, not necessarily military MREs, but more portable meals that have been put together or identified so that we can hit the ground running when it comes to that time. President Joe Biden has approved our request for a declaration of emergency, and as you know, that sets in all kinds of other federal agencies and federal responses to come to our aid almost immediately.
Yeah. Well, what she did well with that, and Northern Marianas as well. But in our wheelhouse, George Chu and I are been going back and forth on trying to figure out what's going to happen with this thing again to hit our tourists. Because if the infrastructure is laid down for a couple of weeks again, it's going to be problematic, I guess, for us to move forward with our anticipation of recovering from the COVID.
Well, we can take advantage of some of the knockdown Tangan and Sakati and just keep it knocked down and keep it mowed so that, as Bertram and Pinko used to say, clear off all the roadways leading down south. And once everything is all cleared up, can you imagine the incredible views from Agate all the way down to Umatic?
That's right. And I'm already eyeing that for Governor Liu's declaration on some of these emergencies, that she can give me more money to get our destination now really done from the ground up, clean it up, and get moving forward in preparation to bring the tourists back at the middle of summer.
As they say, we've got a great opportunity to build better. I mean, some of this stuff is going to be missed as we bulldoze it away like in the old days. But they're the things that replace it maybe are going to make Guam that much more incredible. Unfortunately, it is a typhoon, and it's going to wreak havoc on the prettier, more cultivated parts of Tumon. The greenery that everybody puts down there, but it'll grow back.
Yeah, well, right now, my family and I are praying for our solar panels. They stay on. We spend, hundreds of thousands of dollars at this thing. Even up in Naruno, I tied my panels down to the trees, to the coconut trees, to everything else. So I'm just hoping that, we escape this thing. And I hope that, as Romeo Carlos says, that the eye is going to collapse, hopefully, because it's starting to show that, right?
Unfortunately, on the satellite, it's just clouded over. It's very, very vivid on the radar, and in fact showing signs of rehabilitating itself constantly. So I'm sorry, I don't think that's going to happen. I don't know if we're going to catch a break on this one, Unc.
Let's storm heaven for that one, because if it just collapses to another 50 miles an hour below, I tell you, we might be spared a lot more. But Ray, thank you for staying in there. Don't leave that station until we're done.
I'll see what I can do. I got a break here coming up for Fox News. Hugging a kiss to Auntie Jerry and tell her to keep praying.
And for Mahina, let me say that you being there reminds me of John Anderson going through these same things.
Oh, well, it's big shoes, but I got big feet. I'll talk to you later.
Thank you.
Now, folks, stand by now. It's time for Fox News on The Point.
Today.
We have very good discussions. We know where each other are currently located. We know there's a will to try to find a way.
His lead negotiator, Louisiana Congressman Garrett Graves, telling reporters the two sides are miles apart.
My interpretation of their position is that they fail to recognize or fail to accede to the fact that we are on a spending trajectory right now that is absolutely unsustainable.
He says the biggest gap is on numbers. Fox's Jackie Heinrich at the White House.
Democrats offered to essentially freeze spending at 2023 levels and accept caps for 2 years. Republicans wanted a 2022 baseline, limiting increases over the next 10 years to 1% annually, with some exceptions for things like veterans benefits and defense. So the gap still remains, but the two sides are working.
It's already not clear whether a package can get through Congress in time to avoid default as early as June 1st. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis is ready to take the presidential plunge, now expected to announce his run for the White House during a Twitter event tomorrow night. The criminal trial of former President Donald Trump over hush money payments is now set for March 25th. Trump making a virtual court appearance today to also hear details of a protective order in the case. It limits his access to evidence and public disclosure of it.
Trump can only see cell phone records that are pertinent to the case as approved by the judge. He's also restricted to viewing certain evidence only in the presence of his defense lawyers. And finally, the order shields the names of personnel working for the district attorney's office until jury selection.
Fox's Brian Yennis. Trump calls the case election interference. America is listening to Fox News.
From the Fox News Podcasts Network, the Fox News Rundown, a contrast of perspectives you won't hear anywhere else. Your daily dose of news twice a day, going far beyond the headlines, tapping into the massive reporting resources of Fox News to provide a full picture of the news of the day.
I'm Dana Perino.
I'm Brett Baer.
I'm Maria Bartiromo.
I'm Brian Kilmeade, and this is the Fox News Rundown.
Subscribe and listen now by going to foxnewspodcasts.com or wherever you get your podcasts. From the Fox News Podcasts Network.
Hey, this is Trey Gowdy, host of the Trey Gowdy Podcast. Every Tuesday, you'll hear what's on my mind. Plus, every Thursday, there's a special bonus episode where we answer the questions that are on your mind. Make sure to spend your Tuesdays and Thursdays with Trey. Subscribe now at foxnewspodcast.com or wherever you download podcasts. Hope to see you.
America's listening to Fox News.
A toddler is recovering after being hit by a stray bullet.
Police in Spanish Fork, Utah say the 2-year-old was playing outside a daycare center when the child began stumbling and bleeding from the face. Daycare workers informed the toddler's parents of the incident, the parents taking the 2-year-old to a hospital. Doctors were originally unable to locate the wound until a scan showed the child had a small caliber bullet lodged in their head. The 2-year-old is in stable condition. Spanish Fork police now investigating, saying in a statement Tuesday, quote, "It appears this was a tragic accident." Matt Napolitano, Fox News.
The White House announcing new efforts to guide federally backed research on artificial intelligence, aiming to better understand both the opportunities and risks of the technology. Among the moves unveiled today, they're emphasizing greater international collaboration with allies. And the Education Department issues a new report focusing on the risks and opportunities of AI. Netflix tries again to crack down on password sharing by limiting accounts included viewership to people living in the same household while charging to add others.
Those who subscribe to its standard or premium plans will be able to allow another person living outside their home to use their password for an additional $8 a month, which is a $2 discount from the company's basic standalone plan. Subscribers will still be able to watch Netflix when they're traveling.
Fox's Hillary Barsky, the company's hoping to rein in sharing and add subscribers amid a slowdown in growth. The Justice Department says a legal fight over the mask mandate for air travel and other transportation is a moot point now that a national emergency over COVID has ended. They're asking an appeals court panel to toss out the government's appeal of a 2021 ruling ruling that declared the mask order unlawful. A sell-off on Wall Street late in the session. The Dow drops 231 points. I'm Lisa Brady, Fox News.
The Guy Benson Show will be back in 1 minute.
I think that's supposed to be my... I'm sorry. Welcome to the program. Excuse the mess, as I'm fond of saying. Hi, my name is Ray Gibson, and I do the morning show here at 93.3 The Point. I'm usually surrounded by real talent like Joe Cruz and Donna D. They are not here this morning. I've basically closed down the operations just because I want everybody to be safe. This is a monster typhoon, and I want them to make sure that them and their families, et cetera, are as safe as possible. And that's why we are going to run into situations where you go, does anybody know what they're doing at that radio station? The answer is no, not really. I'm the talker. Joe is the button pusher, and he's just not around here right now. So what we're going to try to attempt to do here is get into a couple of spots. I'll see if I can get some news with Donna D up on the radio. And before too much longer, we'll hear from government spokesman Crystal Paco San Augustin, who is also standing up everything that is important over at the JIC. But first, let's see what happens if I push this button. Here? No, not that one. How about this one over here? No. Oh, I think I broke something, Joe.
Half a day. This is Clara Manglona from Security Title with an important warning. Wire fraud is real, and home buyers and sellers are one of the biggest targets, even on Guam. When sending money by wire transfer, be sure to confirm the wire instructions by phone, not email. In this case, it's good to be suspicious and know who you're dealing with. Let the professionals at Security Title work with you to minimize loss due to wire fraud. We are here to help.
Since 1997, Island Eye Institute has been committed to your family's eye care needs. From its beginnings, Island Eye Institute has recognized the value in incorporating state-of-the-art technology into personalized care and a commitment to excellence. As Guam's complete eye center, our specialists offer their expertise in glaucoma, retina, cornea, LASIK, cataract, and diabetic eye disease. Island Eye accepts Select Care, Net Care, Take Care, and Stay Well. Call us at 637-2020 to schedule your appointment today. We're located on the second floor of the Baltesh Pavilion in Tamuning.
Join us at Mezcla Chamorro Fusion Bistro and see why they've been crowned Guam's best Chamorro food restaurant for 9 consecutive years. Experience Chef Peter's candied salmon over scallion coconut rice, octopus tenactac, Chamorro platter, and their award-winning gourmet burgers. Or if you're looking for something healthy, try their keto-friendly menu. Come and enjoy Mezcla's half-a-day service at their Hagåtña location from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. for lunch, 5:30 p.m. to 9 p.m. for dinner, or 10 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. for their famous Sunday brunch.
Wait, I'm not ready yet. More.
Your big business dreams mean you should be using the best tools. At Docomo Pacific, you get the best technology at the best value. Visit business.docomopacific.com to get an instant quote. Docomo Pacific Business. Work better together.
For all your real estate needs, call the professionals at Hoffaday Realty. Jody, Saran, Libby, and Lolita, and they'll take care of you on every step of the real estate process. No worries. Just contact Hoffaday Realty at 588-4232 or 588-HOFFA or email them at hoffadayrealty@gmail.com. They're at 426 Challen, San Antonio, Suite 204 in Tamuning. Open Monday through Friday, 10 to 4. Hoffaday Realty for all your real estate needs.
Subway's new Subway Series menu is a collection of greatest hits. But my number 7, the Mexicali, is on a whole nother level with the way avocado meets chicken and pepper jack cheese.
Outlaw! You tell them, Raiden. That's the number 2, the Outlaw Sandwich. They don't know flavor.
It's the greatest cheesesteak hit with juicy steak, pepper jack, and Baja Chipotle sauce. There's a better mean cheese pairing than that. Shanzi, justify my point, please.
Meatball, pepperoni, and mozzarella. That's number 6, the Boss Sandwich, because we're the bosses of flavor. We're done here.
At Subway, you gotta refresh to be fresh.
Half a day, I'm Donna De Jesus. Here's a look at your local news on The Point. Super Typhoon Mawar is estimated to make landfall by midday today. Warning coordination meteorologist Landon Eidlet says the worst is yet to come, and to stay off the road, it's going to be a long, destructive day. Eidlet says conditions outside will rapidly deteriorate and get significantly worse toward mid to late morning. And once the eye comes closer to Guam, those peak winds will rapidly intensify across the island. Most Multiple power outages and transformer explosions have been reported since yesterday. Idlet adds the root structures of trees are getting weaker and more vulnerable to falling over, and they can fall on power lines with a lot of ease. So as the rains continue, the winds increase, there is going to be more debris falling on the lines, with power outages dramatically increasing. The National Weather Service plans to do a Facebook Live at 8 o'clock this morning with the latest updates on Super Typhoon Mawar. Meanwhile, in Rota, residents are being advised to conserve water. The Community Utilities Corporation took precautionary safety measures in anticipation of heavy rainfall and turned off the water system to avoid potential contamination. CUC says residents should avoid unnecessary usages such as doing laundry, water blasting, cleaning, and car washing. The CUC says it will prioritize getting electricity to the wells after the storm to bring the water tank level up and provide water services to the community. More news after this.
We don't want you standing in long lines. It's just not right. So Bank Pacific provides excellent online and mobile banking and 24/7 access to your money with our Visa debit cards. And if you want to visit any of our 4 offices, please do so, because we're short on lines and long on service, open Fridays until 6 and on Saturday mornings. Goodbye to the frustration of waiting in long lines. Say hello to Bank Pacific. It'd be our privilege. Bank Pacific, member FDIC.
Naval Base Guam officials are preparing for what could be the most powerful storm to hit Guam in 2 decades by sending ships away. Rear Admiral Benjamin Nicholson authorized the evacuation of defense personnel, dependents, and employees in areas expected to be affected by the storm. The Weather Service warns of a triple threat of winds, torrential rains, and life-threatening storm surge on Guam. Lead meteorologist Patrick Dahl says the storm was moving at only 3 miles per hour, but had an eye 17 miles wide, meaning people at the typhoon's center could see calm conditions for over 3 hours and conclude far too soon that the worst is over. As the eye leaves, the winds could rise to 150 miles per hour in minutes. This morning, meteorologist Landon Idlet says the storm is expected to have 2 eye walls. People should remain sheltered until the government gives the all clear. And all flights to and from Guam have been canceled. While Guam is in Core 1, travelers coming to or from Guam should contact their respective airline for the latest updates on their flight status or go to guamairport.com. Public Health's Northern Community Health Center in Dedido and Southern Community Health Center in Inarajan will remain open throughout Super Typhoon Mawar. The latest JIC at 5:20 this morning is urging those who have not sought shelter to do so immediately. Those not in a fully reinforced concrete structure or in low-lying, flood-prone and coastal areas, especially in southern villages, are the most at risk. And those are your top stories. Back to Ray with weather.
Well, thanks very much, Don. I appreciate that. Here's the weather. We're not going to mess around too much with mostly cloudy this and whatever that. Typhoon warning is in effect. Tropical storm force winds, 40 to 60 knots, are forecasted to increase to typhoon force winds of 75 knots or greater early this morning. Seas building up to 32 feet. Near the eye wall, seas up to 45 feet are expected. This is for Guam and Rota. Destructive typhoon force winds likely. These conditions are expected to continue through this evening, possibly into Thursday morning. Conditions will be catastrophic for small craft and extremely dangerous for large vessels. Seek safe harbor as soon as possible. Mawar is now a super typhoon. Conditions will become increasingly dangerous as Super Typhoon Mawar tracks closer to coastal waters, becoming deadly for small craft and dangerous for larger vessels. Mariners should seek alternate plans to avoid these hazardous conditions. Stay in port, find safe harbor, alter course, do whatever. There's others that we need to go over here as of I'm looking to see if this is how much of this is fresh here. This will work. Super Typhoon Mawar continues its approach to Guam. Passage very near or directly over Guam is imminent. The latest forecast from the Joint Typhoon Warning Center indicates this storm will strengthen further to a Category 5 typhoon with maximum sustained winds of around 160 miles an hour, gusting to 200 miles an hour. It is expected to occur over the next several hours. Prior to making landfall, the triple threats of Super Typhoon Mawar, torrential rains that may result in landslides and flash flooding, catastrophic wind, and life-threatening storm surge. This is expected for Guam, with potentially catastrophic coastal flooding for southeastern and southern portions of the island. island. A mandatory evacuation order was initiated by the governor yesterday. Storm surge potential is extreme and real. Please see the storm surge and surf information as large storm surge and coastal impacts are expected, particularly for coastal areas just north of the Eye of Mawar on the east to southeast sides of Guam. Guam and the CNMI are all in Core 1 by their respective governors. 888-8255-888-TALK. And we go from that conversation rather rapidly. I think I've got, if I'm lucky, Crystal Paco St. Augustine on the line. Buenas and half a day.
Half a day, Ray. Thank you so much for hunkering down at the station to give people the latest on Super Typhoon Mawar. I really appreciate it. And it's a great service you're doing to the people of Guam.
Not a problem. Happy to be here and do this. I appreciate the fact that I'm not completely alone. While I might be alone in the building, I'm surrounded by people like you that can continue to feed me information. Somebody was asking me how long I'm going to be here, and honestly, it depends on how long I've got people coming in and calling and just letting me know what's going on. Government responses, what's happening with shelters, conversations about that we need to have about how we're going to develop a recovery conversation. And it's nice to know that you're in most of those. At the JIC right now, what is the situation there? What's it look like on the ground at the Joint Information Center?
Well, the key message at this hour is seek immediate shelter, rather, if you haven't done so already. National Weather Service, communicating to us that there's a break this morning. So if you need to travel somewhere, if you need to get somewhere, and most especially to higher ground or to a place that's more suitable for weathering out the storm, do it this morning. Do not wait. Again, we are expecting the worst, the closest point of approach midday today, and so please do so already. You're doing such a great job on the news reporting it. But remember, yesterday was Tuesday. Governor Leon Guerrero issuing that executive order to evacuate our southern areas, most especially those low-lying coastal areas, and also not even just if you're down south, but if you're in a substandard home or a flood-prone home, now's the time. Please do not be shy. We have several shelters open north, central, and south. And I want to go ahead and just keep reading those shelters out.
Oh, no, absolutely. By now, as the weather reports are saying, by now you should have done whatever precautions you've got. And if that's still, even after you've worked out over the last couple of days and bought everything they had at Home Depot, and it's still not enough, then consider moving yourself and your family to one of the shelters. Here's the list.
Absolutely. So, well, Asumba Elementary is maxed out in capacity, so please do not go there if you're in northern Guam. We have several other shelters up north. I'm going to go ahead and read all the shelters north to south. Machinao Elementary School, they still have capacity. Maria A. Ujoa Elementary School, Upi Elementary School, Weddingale Elementary School, BP Carbolito Elementary School, George Washington High School, Harry S. Truman Elementary School, in Aloha Middle School, Marisa Martyrs Memorial School, and Talafofa Elementary School. While we're no longer providing DPW busing to these schools, please, seek shelter at your closest school. These are hardened facilities. The reasons why we picked these schools is because they have three things. They have a generator, they have water tanks, and they have typhoon shutters. And so we want to make sure that our residents who are seeking shelter have all the amenities they need to make it through. While we are waiting the passage of Super Typhoon Mawar, and again, Mawar. I'm still learning how to say it. Mawar is Indonesian for rose, so that's what we get for naming a typhoon after a flower. Also, just again, I want to thank you. You for allowing us to come on to your show hourly. We are preparing for the worst here at the Joint Information Center. In the event we lose social media, we lose internet connection, we're still able to do old-fashioned radio station updates, and so grateful for you and our partners. Another one just joining us this morning. So it's of course, the point now, the breeze.
Oh my God, I can't take the pressure. I can't take the pressure. We are reliant, and I'll say it again. We're reliant on electricity and more significantly the internet. So as long as our telecom and communications partners stay up, and as long as I had my generator Kuya was laboring over this thing here and at the transmitter site. So as long as all of those systems stay up and antennas stay on towers, we'll be all right. I'll figure it out.
I know. We're all very much dependent on internet access, and so just wanting to train the people of Guam in the event internet goes down. These are some of the stations that have already partnered up with us. So please keep those radios on hand. Please keep those candles, those flashlights let's kick it old school. This is going to be potentially the worst weather situation we've had in over 2 decades. I mean, Pongsunwa being the most comparable. I was just a little girl, and so, we all need to shelter up, seek immediate shelter. Please use this time. Again, if there's one message that I'm going to repeat all hour, it's seek immediate shelter if you've not done so. There's a break in the system right now. Go seek shelter. If you don't need to be on the road, please stay off the road.
Well, you know what? I think a lot of people have been heeding that. As I mentioned to Paul Tapau last hour, I was on the road here, and I was the only car. There was nobody else up around Route 8 and then through Tiedzin and on Marine Corps Drive. There was nobody. It was like I was the last man alive trying to make my way to the radio station. Everything was closed. All the lights are on. Imagine this now. Marine Corps Drive, all of the lights of all of the businesses are on. They're shuttered up, obviously, but all of the lights are on, and but there's nobody else on the road except you. It was kind of interesting. It doesn't happen like that all the time. And don't tell Paul Tapau, but I ran all of the lights, every single one.
Ooh, you are endangering others, Ray. Please follow all the traffic lights.
They're going to be blinking. They're going to be off in 2 or 3 hours anyway.
And again, we're talking about. Our government has done many of the preparedness steps to ensure that the people of Guam are able to recover and be resilient immediately following the impact of Super Typhoon Mawar. So that means all our agencies that are critical infrastructure agencies, we're talking about the Department of Public Works, they were out there assessing the flooding, trying to, mitigate any flooding in those areas. We know that if the traffic lights go down, we're ready. The Guam Police Department is ready to mobilize. Guam National Guard is ready to mobilize. We want to also keep the roads clear for our first responders when an ambulance needs to make it to the hospital. So we're going to keep that to Muning roadway clear, to make it to Guam Memorial Hospital, of course, to Naval Hospital and to GRMC to make sure that those who need those life-saving services are able to get there. The Guam Power Authority has done their part with the tree trimming and all the other all their other protocols to ensure that we can keep as many people keep people's lights on, and then the Guam Water Authority topping off their reservoirs. And all this prep has started since last Friday. The Guam National Weather Service has been tracking the system for a week now. So it's been a lot of careful preparation, a lot of tracking, a lot of putting those preparedness practices into play. I know we talk about, we do earthquake drills, right? We do fire drills, and we do typhoon drills. So now is the time to ensure that we have all our preparedness measures in place.
Yeah, flashlight. There's Buskutu, spam, all of the things that I need.
The deck of cards.
Yeah, my own personal infrastructure, and I checked with your Auntie Shelley, and she's got if I run out, there's plenty up there at her place. Right. Yeah, so I'm gonna be good. Crystal, it's always a delight talking with you. As I said, you keep the information flow coming in, and I will stay on the air and ride the desk as long as I possibly can.
Thank you so much.
All right. Well, I'll talk to you pretty soon. A couple other voices that I need to bring in. 888-8255-888. TALK is the telephone number around here. And nice to hear from the folks over at the Joint Information Center. And I don't know whether either one of us has had a decent night's sleep in the last 2 or 3 nights. Jerry Roberts in the studio. Get ready for the extra point. But you have been doing the meteorological scrub too, haven't you?
I've been up and back between 3 or 4 different services, and it's interesting. I just got off the phone with Landon Idle, and because I figured that I had a lot of questions, and they weren't being answered, and I figured I could go to him and get a straight scoop. Yesterday, I indicated this was not going to be Paka, this was not going to be Bong Sung-Hwa and all that. Well, and someone took me to task on that, and rightfully so. But I've been operating on these various models and trying to make sense of them. And I asked him about windy.com and some of the other stuff out there.
Yeah, my radars.
And he's saying, they're okay, but there's some downsides along with those. And they don't exactly put out the clearest picture possible. And I won't go into the details, but this is not maybe the major source people should be looking at. They take the same data, apparently. Yes. Randy Landis posted about that yesterday and said it's the same data, but maybe they're throwing it into different algorithms. And then that's why you get the different interpretations. Because, for example, when you have windy.com showing that at something like 3 o'clock in the afternoon, you're going to have a sustained, well, one source is saying sustained winds of 150, and then windy is saying gusts up to 70. Well, that doesn't make much sense, does it? So that's when I began to ask questions.
Why is that? Near as I can tell, they use the same process that the gas companies use to figure out when the price of gas is going up or down.
Same
It
guys.
might be just kind of throw it up at the wall, see what happens.
Maybe you found something right there. Maybe those are the guys that have the gas price.
Might be some of that. Well, here's what we've got now is we are now within radar range. And you can see on the screen that I've got here, and you can see up there, you can see where the eye is, and it might not be a perfect marble eye, and that's because there's two parts of it. It is splitting up and putting itself back together.
Landon said it's reforming.
Yeah.
Right now.
So that in and of itself now, and the fact that we can see it coming. I mean, can you imagine, Typhoon Pamela, even Paka, if we'd had access to something like this on our phone that we could look at and see what was happening? We did not. We had Channel 2 on Guam Cable TV, and that was it.
And the worst of all was Karen, because Karen left and then backed up and came back again the second time.
I don't know that to be true about Karen. I'd have to look it up. Some people say I've never seen a track. I've heard people say that about Pamela, and I've researched that heavily, and there is no.
It's not.
There's a baby loop. Well, it was still around Chuk, but it never came up and went away and came back.
Well, maybe that's a story I got when I first got here. When Pamela happened, they said Karen left, came back again.
They lied. No, it was one big storm and knocked.
And it was it.
My sister Shelley and I, baby Shelley and little baby Ray, were huddled under the kitchen table when the roof came off of the house.
Little baby Dave
weren't around yet. They weren't born until the 70s. They weren't born to the 70s. So it obviously been a very interesting day. I got to be late yesterday. I was finished with everything that I needed to do. I opened up a can of chili no beans and threw that over rice. And tried to do other than weather or be anxious about what was going on. I said, you know what, just go to sleep. Just go to sleep. 7 o'clock. It was the earliest I've been to bed since I was 6 years old.
How much you get?
Back and forth.
Because you and I messaged at
2 o'clock in the morning. I knew I wanted to wake up. I would normally start moving around about 2 anyway, and I had a reason to do that to see if the JTWC paperwork had already been uploaded, and it was, and it was still bad news, and so I went back to sleep for another hour or so, and I said, well, I guess that's it. Came to the radio station, and voila, here we are. You'll note that the infrastructure is a little bit different. I'm not in the same room.
You're in Joe's room.
Yeah, I'm in Joe's room. I'm doing the production from around here. Yeah, Donna D has been uploading newscasts to the radio station so that we've got something going on here. I'm trying to find the one that's just you and I on the screen. We used to have that back in the olden days. Oh, I know. I have to turn something else on. Or not. I don't know. But anyway.
So last thing, and Landon said that he has a Facebook Live coming at 8.
I believe.
And he says that's something that people can dial into, and he'll have some good information. So the latest thing, it's going to work. It's this afternoon.
I wasn't. I'm not going to nail these guys down on when the closest point of approach is going to be.
He just told me it's this afternoon. And he said right now it's a southern pass. That was, again, the other services were indicating it might be central to northern. So the further away you are on the island, the better off you're going to be.
Ish.
It's not going to be good for anybody, but the further away you are, if you're in the northern sector, you're going to get a little bit lighter hit than you will if you're certainly in the south. And he said it's moving around 6 miles per hour.
Not fast enough.
Not fast enough. That's flying in the face of some of the other reports, which are indicating like 13. If it was 13, this thing will be hitting and going. And
I would be smiling. But
that would be smiling.
But he did indicate that it hit a spot where we've got some a dry patch, literally dry air, which is preventing it from stepping on the gas a little bit harder. So it will not be as intense as it was going to be had that been the case.
That's the glimmer of hope that he had mentioned, that it could have been a lot worse.
I was praying for a break. Yeah. Just one little break, and I'm hoping I'm hoping 140 mile an hour with a little bit higher gusts are going to be all right. But I mean, still mentally, I'm prepped in my head for the worst. Yeah, so that's the way it works. So that's lights flashing around here. We've had one or two of those, and every time they do, I try to stick my head out the window. I've got an actual radio outside tuned to the actual radio station.
Yeah.
Because I don't, there's digital systems, and they just whatever, you're on the air, keep talking, go boy, go.
Yeah, sure.
But I want to make sure that the thing is on. Did Did you make an extra point today?
I did.
All right. Well, okay, we don't have a theme. I don't know if I got the commercials to play, so we'll just wing it. Jerry Robertson, this morning's extra point.
Ed and the folks at First Hawaiian, stay dry, folks. Okay, here we go. Yesterday, we talked about confusion with Typhoon Mawar. How fast were the winds and where was it headed? If the reporting sources all used pretty much the same resources to make their predictions, why were they different? Well, we'll look at that, and we'll also look at how managers may want to view the next several days, and that is coming next on the Extra Point. So as I was
Save
heading...
over $1,300 a year when you bundle your business mobile, internet, and phone at Docomo Pacific. Some conditions apply. Visit business.docomopacific.com to get an instant quote. Docomo Pacific Business. Work better together.
Listen to The Point anytime, anywhere on Odyssey. Odyssey is your new audio home for all the music, news, sports, and podcasts that matter to you. Find your favorite stations like The Point and discover more. Music stations, local and trusted news sources, sports talk and team coverage, plus today's biggest podcasts. Find it all on the Odyssey app. AUDACY.
Yeah, neither one of those was your sponsor, but just keep going anyway.
All right. So as I was heading off to sleep on Monday night, Typhoon Mawar was being reported a couple of different ways. One that would pass over the southern tip of Guam, and now we've had that reestablished. And maybe a Category 3 storm. On the other hand, another source, perhaps using the same raw data, saw it differently, had Mawar curling to the left and possibly missing us entirely, though not by much. We were certainly going to be impacted by powerful winds, but perhaps not like we've seen from storms named Pamela, Paka, and Bong Song-Hwa. Well, we've now seen that's probably not the case that we are. The storm was cooking along at a good clip, as many do, and we all had high hopes that we'd have another one slip by. At 1 o'clock yesterday, the National Weather Service said Mawar was moving at 8 miles per hour and sustained winds of 130. Within 6 hours, it had intensified to 140, about where it is now, had sped up to 13. At least that's what one service was reporting. Well, that would be great. Storms that speed up are better. And I've seen times that it's passing listed as early as 1 o'clock this afternoon, also 3 o'clock, also around 6 o'clock. So again, depending what you're looking at in terms of these online sources and online resources, you may be getting different pictures. So all this being said, Mawar had changed direction seemingly for the third time in 3 days. And it began to drift a little bit to the north, said one service, instead of staying along the southern edge. And now it looks like it's coming over the southern tip. So there's been a good deal of confusion. But in the end, a big typhoon is on the doorstep and headed in. If this is your first typhoon and you're sheltered and secure, don't venture out if the winds seemingly go away after a few hours. Wait a while, as long as you can until you're sure the storm has passed or you get official word that you're clear to move about. I remember I was on the roof of the Hilton when Typhoon Pamela, when the eye of Pamela passed over Guam in 1976. It was my first rodeo, so to speak, and I didn't know that the super high gusts would start up again without notice. Hilton staff knew, and they came up and chased everybody off the roof in time. If you think you're not well prepared, go to a shelter immediately. If you're not sure, then the shelter is probably the wise choice. So the next thing to look at is the recovery. Pamela's restoration was measured in weeks and months. We've gotten much better over the years. Unless something completely unexpected happens, power and water should be back in days. In some cases, hopefully just hours or for others. And for many people, hopefully. The storm will be a good test of how far we've come and where our infrastructure really is. Restoration also applies to our companies, agencies, and military units. One way people begin to feel normal again following an event like this is for life to return to some sense of normalcy. Going to work and resuming our routine is certainly a part of that. Our leaders and managers have a big role to play. This is your time, your moment to step up and be the one that your people can count on for support. Life is going to be challenging for a while, and no doubt more so for some than others. They'll need help, they'll need guidance, and they'll also need a big measure of enthusiasm. And that's going to be tough to muster. But that's what you get when you call yourself manager. That's one of the things you bring to the game. The aftermath of a storm is the hardest part for most people, especially in the absence of power, water, and other basics. Having a boss who stands with you and stands behind you is a big deal. Enthusiasm may be in short supply. Make sure that you find a reservoir of it within you and share it widely. People are going to remember things from Typhoon Mawar. Let your uplifting attitude and support be one of them. Storms can be erratic. Managers can't be once they pass. Take care of what you need for yourself and for your family in these hours before and during the storm. Take care of your family at work. Once it's gone, they'll be glad you did. That's the extra point. Be responsible and make something good happen today. Even today, especially today, for 93.3, The Ray Gibson Show and First Hawaiian Bank. I'm Jerry Roberts.
Let me turn my microphone on and see what's going on. One of the things that people are going to remember from today is that I am the worst on-air producer of all time.
Do you know, I
built this stuff. I don't work it.
I ran the worst board ever. When I was on air, because you're thinking of everything else, and then you go, "Oh, wait, the microphone! Yeah, I got to turn that on."
Bass, happy face. You know what? I'd love. You know what? I'd love a rack of carts right about now.
Oh yeah.
So I just put everything in and fire them from the console, do all of that stuff. All right, there's Jerry Roberts in the Extra Point. While you were on, this came in from Jenna and the folks over at the Joint Information Center. You were talking about seeking shelter, and this is an important announcement. You are advised to seek immediate shelter no later than 9 a.m. at a designated northern, central, or southern emergency shelter. If you've not done so already, once sheltered, stay indoors until Core 4 is declared. Again, those seeking shelter are advised to do so no later than 9 a.m. After 9, damaging winds at 39 miles an hour or greater are expected and will continue to intensify. It will be inadvisable to be out on the roadways at that time. Heavy rainfall will be increasing through the morning, decreasing visibility. And there is this about that. There's a ton of stuff out there that was not secured.
Oh, sure.
In the last few days. You know, you got businesses, and they've kind of let things go. We got some construction sites where they've, all done with the riprap and all of the scaffolding, and they just kind of took it all down. And it's laying down, and all of that stuff. There's a potential. In fact, there's a huge potential that it could become airborne. And if you're in a concrete house, there's less likely of a chance that a 2x4 from the construction site next door is going to come and whack you in the head.
And if you don't think that a 2x4 can be lifted up and sent at an alarming speed airborne, it's happened before.
I'll bet cinder block can be done. Somebody will dig out some old pictures of a coconut tree that had the perfect form on it. Looked like it had gone through something to make potato chips. It had the perfect ridges. It looked like a piece of tin had gone through it.
Oh, the pictures from Pamela still are just etched in my mind. The things that we saw in the aftermath of that storm, the things you didn't think were possible. Yeah, it's amazing.
I got you.
The power.
And lots of power. Lots of people chiming in one way or the other. I'll take a look in a couple of minutes at what's happening with, I'm not on YouTube this morning. For some reason, YouTube decided it didn't like something. But fortunately, we got a big old chunk of family watching us on YouTube right now, and a bunch of people that are watching on Rumble. And, of course, there's ThePOINT.gu. All of our streams seem to be up here this morning, audio and video, except for Facebook. And just look around. You'll be able to find us. That's Jerry Roberts in the Extra Point. He may chime in at some point or another. I'm still trying to figure out when it is that I'm going to be jamming out of here and getting past this point. And there's a part of me that's, as long as the station is on the air and I'm getting information, I might just stay with it. But on the other hand, we'll watch and see how it happens. I'm going to take a break. I might come back with news and headlines with Donna D. But first, let me take care of 1, 2, 3, press that. These messages. Be right back.
Fly even higher and get to your destination with the United Credit Card from First Hawaiian Bank. You can earn 40,000 miles with $2,000 worth of spending within the first 3 months. That's 40,000 reasons to get on board with the First Hawaiian Bank United Credit Card. It all starts with yes. Certain restrictions apply. To learn more about this offer, visit any First Hawaiian Bank branch or go to fhb.com/United.
For all your real estate needs, call the professionals at Hoffaday Realty. Jody, Saran, Libby, and Lolita, and they'll take care of you on every step of the real estate process. No worries. Just contact Hoffaday Realty at 588-4232 or 588-HOFFA or email them at hoffadayrealty@gmail.com. They're at 426 Chelon, San Antonio, Suite 204 in Tamuning. Open Monday through Friday, 10 to 4. Hoffaday Realty for all your real estate needs. News at 7:30 in the morning, being brought to you by the guys over at Burger King. Everything is closed right now, and everybody's hunkered down. But trust me, as soon as they get the all clear, they'll start putting some Whoppers on the grill and getting you some chow to eat. They're being brought to you here, and at BKU Roll. Sorry, we're not going to be able to do I Love the Whopper Wednesday. Not going to happen. And it's also being brought to you by the guys over at Hoffaday Realty at gmail.com of the World Wide Web. They are kind of hunkered down as well, so don't anticipate anything's going to happen from them. But maybe if you're thinking about buying a new place because the old one blew away, I'd call them.
Residents whose homes are not safe against heavy winds or rains, or those that live in low-lying flood-prone areas, are advised to move to a designated emergency shelter immediately. All shelters, aside from Astumbo Elementary, have not reached max capacity. Residents in that area are advised to seek shelter in an alternate location. And warning coordination meteorologist Landon Eidlitz shared some glimmer of hope this morning, saying there's a pocket of air that is preventing Super Typhoon Mawar from intensifying to its maximum. Eidlitz says maximum sustained winds should be 140 miles per hour, but residents are still advised to stay indoors until Core 4 is announced. And due to the strength of Super Typhoon Mawar, U.S. Coast Guard Forces Micronesia Sector Guam Joint Rescue Subcenter watchstanders transferred the watch to U.S. Coast Guard District 14 for monitoring and response. Anyone with search and rescue needs on Guam and in the CNMI should call 911. Outside of Guam and the CNMI and maritime traffic should use Channel 16. And those are your local headlines. Back to Ray.
All right, thanks very much, Donna D. Appreciate that. 888-825-5888-TALK. And there is usually a format on most days of the week. All right, total fib. I fabricate the format on a daily basis. But today, even more so, to try to get as many voices on the air. And as I said, keep feeding me information, what it's like where you are, what you are hearing, what you know, as a matter of fact. 888-8255. Thanks very much for calling the program. My name is Ray. Who's this?
Hey, Ray, this is Gerard. How are you?
Which Gerard? I know many of them.
Gerard Affleck out here in Denver.
What are you doing out there? How's the weather in Denver? Give me good news. We've got a typhoon in our face.
Oh, trust me, I'm really thrilled to hear what your other co-host. I'm sorry, he just got off the air with
Jerry Roberts. Yeah,
Jerry. Sorry about that. Because I've been following a lot of those other websites that he was talking about. That it's been causing a lot of angst for a lot of of us here in the States that are basically really worried about family back home. And I'm really glad that he brought up the fact that some of those websites may not have the most accurate information that they're basically analyzing.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things, obviously, you may or may not have known, I just left Guam a week ago, and now I'm already set to jump on an airplane to go back and help the family recover. Some of the things that I'm really not sure about, like Carl Gutierrez had mentioned, in the past, all I can recall is, not having power and water for weeks and months. And I was trying to get myself ready for that. But it sounds like that may not be the case this time. And I'm sure there's hundreds of other islanders that are already planning to fly back in to help families there. So it helps to let us understand what the difficulties will be when we get back in terms of preparing. Because I wasn't thinking of bringing cash, but again, my question is, are the banks going to be up and running.
Yeah.
in a matter of days.
Well, the banks will be back in business maybe Thursday afternoon, if anything. Once we get out of Condition 1 and go back to Core 4, banks aren't going to be a problem. The data structure. We've got 1 million bits of data that come through Guam, so it's not a question of is the internet on. The internet will be on. And we will be able to get data from any part of the planet to Guam, to the ATM, as long as there's electricity. I don't think there's going to be a problem there. And I think in terms of electricity, I don't know if you heard John Beneventi, the boss of the Power Authority, yesterday.
I did not.
Oh, we got it. I don't want to overstate the case. But as soon as the guys on the streets, and Gerard, you know about the guys in the Guam Power Authority, linemen, construction guys, outside guys, they're all experts.
Yeah.
They have all the tools that they need. This is not your grandfather's GPA. These guys, they got more bucket trucks on Guam than I think that anybody has ever had at any time. JB says we've got all the spares that we need. If we need to replace the big pieces of wood on top of the poles, we've got plenty of those. We got plenty of poles to replace any of the broken ones that snap and any of the wooden ones that go down. There are going to be dark pockets, to be sure, but I don't think this is going to be. I don't think it's going to be as bad as Pongsangmo was. And as far as water is concerned, they've got a pretty good regime and a great relationship between the Power Authority and the Water Authority. And unless I misheard it, what may have happened in the last 12 hours is at some point Miguel says, okay, all of the water pumping stations now are going to be the responsibility to power them falls on GPA, and that means the GPA Island Power, Shore Power in. And if that goes out, then somebody from GPA is going to go out there and make sure a generator gets turned over and goes on. They do the inspections constantly, and nobody is stealing them. So I think we're going to be in much better shape. I think one of the things that you might need to be wary of if you come back, and I'm not entirely sure how to say this. I don't know. It's they're. I think everybody in the last 24 hours bought everything at Home Depot, Benson's, and all of the Paylesses, and maybe even the commissary. So we might not have ready access to a whole lot of chow until the containers start coming in.
Okay.
Yeah,
well,
so
at least you answered a lot of questions. Do you know much about the airport? Do you know when generally that opens up?
Core, as soon as we go back to Core 4, they should be open. That I'm aware of. The only problem that they had was air conditioning issues. Otherwise, all of the United airplanes and the JAL airplanes and the Philippine airplanes that needed to get out got out in time. There are some people that are stranded here, but that's just because they don't want to fly the planes in Condition 1.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, this is very helpful for us who are planning to get back.
Well, we'll be on the radio tomorrow. I don't know what shape we're going to be in. Well, I'm assuming we'll be on the radio tomorrow. If all of my hardening steps are successful, then we shouldn't necessarily have a problem being on the air one way or the other, either social media or if I've got electricity and internet and a microphone, then I can do this job.
All right. Well, I appreciate all that you do, and thanks for the service that you're doing for the people.
All that I do, you're the cookbook man. This is Gerard Affligwe, ladies and gentlemen. You find him on the Facebooks and the Instagrams, and the guy wants to sell you. Your old comes will blow away. Buy a new one from Gerard.
Yeah, that's for another time, but I appreciate you, and I just pray that the people in Guam continue to stay safe.
Roger that. I'll talk to you pretty soon as well. Gerard, you have a fantastic rest of the day, and appreciate the love and the prayers and all of that. Getting word from my friend Vince Bora says San Jose is open. Do they have mosquito coil? Sorry, it's a thing. It's a thing. The reason why it's a thing, ladies and gentlemen, is because it wasn't that long ago our friends up in NMI got hammered, absolutely hammered with the storms. And they were okay. For the most part, they made it through the blow. But the problem was they didn't have a whole lot by way of anything that could keep the mosquitoes and the termites away at the end of it all. And have you noticed that the termites are swarming here, as they did right after Typhoon Pamela? Tell you what, where am I now? Hoping to hear from a few other folks. I'm getting word that the National Weather Service deal is going to be at 8:15 or so. I'm going to stay connected to the microphone in the console here, because there's other that I wanted to talk about until at least then. I want to hear what they've got to say over at the National Weather Service. I believe I'm in a position where I should be able to bring that audio into you. I'm not 1,000% sure. Might want to try to get some practice here. Who is this now? Is this Weather dot something. Yeah, weather.com on the World Wide Web. They had issued a story. We're famous, guys. Can I say it this way? Guam is famous. This is the first major storm, hurricane, whatever, typhoon in the United States of America for this new storm season. I played a piece of video for you from a guy the other day, and it looks like weather.com has picked it up as well. I found this link on the Gizmo on the Guam alerts here this morning. Let's see what they've got to say. Click and load. And it's a commercial for a hotel. Best rates available. Bayview Hotel Guam. Okay, you guys owe me. Fortunately, it's a short one. Okay, let's see what else they got to play. Skip ad.
Typhoon Mawar is heading towards Guam, possibly reaching the equivalent of a Category 4 hurricane upon its approach, and what could be the territory's strongest, closest strike in over 20 years. A serious threat that's going to need to be monitored, as Mawar is expected to keep strengthening for the remainder of the week, becoming a super typhoon with winds of at least 150 miles per hour as it curls towards the northwest, posing a threat to the northern Philippines, Taiwan, and Japan next week. The storm is currently moving to the north-northwest, and the outer rain bands that are far away from the center are sweeping into Guam and the Mariana Islands, which will continue as the storm draws closer. The more severe impacts are going to include the threat of intense winds that are going to do damage to trees and buildings. Power outages are expected, and the forecast also shows significant storm surge, possibly up to 8 feet, along with large waves and intense rainfall that could trigger flash flooding.
Thanks very much. And as far as the forecast is concerned, this is how frustrating it's been for Gerard. It's not just you that's frustrated, bro. There's people around here that are kind of frustrated as well, just trying to figure out, okay, where is the best place to find the information? And as I said, for me, it was a question of, it was like I was slamming the buttons on the car radio. Where's my favorite song? Is it here? Is it here? Is it here? And all of my favorite songs were the ones where the storm wasn't going away or wasn't going to be hitting us. But I couldn't find a whole lot of that. So you start to look for which is the one that has it either up north by a long shot or down south by a long shot. And you don't see too many of those as well. I want to say that USA Today may also have a piece on us, as well as I didn't copy the link. I'm sorry about that, but there was a story out of a news service in the Philippines where they're watching very closely what is going to be happening with this storm, this super typhoon Mawar, while it is in the Mariana Islands, because they are under the impression that it could be next out there. Now, Dr. Ron McNinch was complaining the other day. It was about he says, why can't we go back to naming the typhoons after angry women like Karen and Pamela and all of that? And I told them they changed it with political correctness or something like that, and they wanted to ensure there was a diversity of cultures, especially in these Indo-Pacific storms that have or may have an impact on lots and lots of different places. Anyway, to the degree he bought it, well, that's all right. But no, I don't know about that. When it gets to the Philippines, though, they will rename it Betty. That will be the name of this typhoon Mawar when it gets to be Betty, and I hope there's not much left of it when it gets there. All right, what have I got here? Dirt Bag Forever. This is so weird. I normally do this on the Facebook side, but there's no Facebook feed here this morning. We are on Rumble and YouTube. On Rumble, look for The Ray Gibson Show. On YouTube, look for The Ray Gibson Show. I don't know that there's a substantial difference in the way they show up on screen, but that's the way I find it. Slow news day when all you have to talk about is the weather, huh? Says Dirtbag Forever, Fin Fan. It's good it's hitting in the daylight so we can see what's happening. Yeah. Pamela was a daytime strike as well. But we had just a little sliver of a spot in between the door and the window where we could look outside, and the only thing that we could see was a 40, 60 foot power pole, utility pole in front of the old Mariana sails going back and forth. And on one side of the storm, it was going bang, 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 bang over to the left. And after the eye passed, it went bang, 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 bang over to the right. And when I woke up the next morning, it was on the ground. We didn't after the afternoon strike. There wasn't much of anything to do that night except wait until daylight came, and it was a longish wait. Com1 diver TC Windy is reporting 70 miles an hour. JTWC is reporting 150 miles an hour. Can anyone explain the difference? Not me. Jerome, I think I remember Carl's father died at the time when Pamela passed. Losing an eye totally might be going through another eye rebuild, FinFan. It depends on what you're looking at. Again, if you're looking at the weather radar, and I'll get that back up on the screen so you can see what's going on. You can watch the rotation. What's happening? It looks like there's one eye in the middle, and then there's an eye trying to form on the outside. That is reformation, as Landon was referring to it as. There is still an eye there. It is not collapsing. It's just a sign that this is a strong storm and it's on the move. People think solar panels are good for Guam, should be held responsible for paying money to replace all of them when they get destroyed. They feel so strongly about them. Walk the talk. Got it up. Beautiful Sarita Garin saying, thank you, Ray, for being here for us this morning. Real Joe checked out. Real Joe checked out with permission. He's got little Ruckus and his mother, and he is the only able-bodied man in the house. And he makes a good point. I did not want him to get stranded here if they were going to need him at his place. Same thing for Donna. Looks like Carl Fakuta's online, offering his high fives right about now. Hey, look, there's my buddy Richard Hughes. Thank you, Ray, keeping us all informed and bringing all of us together. Yeah, it is kind of a family, isn't it? Ismail says, water blasting in a typhoon. Darwin Award. Don M. saying, good morning, Guam. Sir Eyes, the worst is yet to come. That light yellow thingy right side of the eye wall starting to pass. Let's pray Mawar calms down prior. And it looks like maybe it did a little bit of that calming down. Hey, Bob and Connie Bartonico online. Nice to see you guys there. Lots of comments from Finn Fan, Dwayne Santos. Good morning, everyone. Mawar howls loudly where I'm at. Boy, I'm sure glad it didn't do too much of that at my house last night. I had my own kind of weather system set up. I've got these new panels out in the house. And there's fabric. It's this kind of a ballistic fabric that I hope lives up to the sales pitch. Ding, ding, ding. And so it was kind of interesting when the rains would come and it would rain up against those things and make this incredible racket. But it was so nice when they didn't. FinFan says, Super Ray Gibson, typhoon expert. Time to flush the toilet. Do I say it? Yes, if it's yellow, let it mellow. If it's down, flush it down. James Joyce online. I got Patricia Transmawar. Can't make up its mind. Trans. Don't get me into that conversation. It's too early. Alupang Guam. Ray's got some serious monitor action going on there. Looks like Tom Cruise in Minority Report, kind of, but Ray is more handsome. Well, I thank you for that. Gina Call. Will the governor allow early payday for Gov Guam on Thursday to help people recover immediately? Oh, which people are we talking about? Just Gov Guam employees or everybody else? Hey, if you're the boss, see what you can do with HR and accounting and the bank, and that might be a good idea to get everybody out there. On the other hand, I think there might be a whole lot of people that will be going to buy goodies, or went to buy goodies with credit card. And I don't know that there's that much to buy in the store now anyway, than what we got for Home Depot. DB Herrera, kudos. Thank you, Senor Ray, for your unwavering passion and bravery to weather the storm and continue to provide unselfish public broadcast services. You can shine my shoes later. This is the job. My buddy JB's on the line saying, keep it up, Ray. Lena McDaniel, I'm not far from radio station and wind is howling down. Facing Tumon Bay, but quiet on Marine Corps. Dale Audette says, be safe all. And that's my wish for you, all of you, to be as safe as possible. These are tricky times, and they're getting trickier and more dangerous as the seconds go by. If you are in substandard, I guess is the way to do that, or really in an unprotected situation, get to the nearest of the emergency shelters. They're open all over the place. I think Estumbo is the only one that's not open right now if you're up in the north end. Matsunano Elementary, Maria Udzoa Elementary, Upi Elementary, Weddingale Elementary, BP Carbazito, George Washington High School. Don't go to the mayor's office now. There's no buses to take you to the shelter. You got to go directly to the shelter. Arias Truman Inalahan Middle School. I got MU Lujan. Wait a second. MU Lujan was taken off the list. Malesso Marchers Memorial School. and Telefofo Elementary School. Globally, I mean, island-wide, there's a lot of space in the shelters. It was only Estumbo that got crowded up, and as you can imagine, up in the northern villages, that's why. But as I said, 9 o'clock, that's the hard deadline, and unless you're really, really good at banging on the doors, they probably aren't going to let you in. I'm hoping while the Fox News is playing that I might be able to get my hands on some new current information from the National Weather Service. As you can imagine, they've got a number of products that come out, but I get disappointed when I go there and I say, "Oh, this thing was published at 3:49," and I'm going, "Yeah, but it's 7:59 now. Is there a new version of that's going to tell me exactly what I need to tell you on the other side of Fox News?" So we'll see what comes up here in just a little bit. What I'm able to find from them, and whatever I'm able to find from Joint Typhoon Warning Center. I'd asked Real Joe to ask Landon if he could call back after they've deciphered everything from the last of the National Weather Service. I'm sorry, JTWC blurbs. And the answer was, well, I'm gonna do the thing on the YouTube and on the Facebook. I don't know about YouTube, but on Facebook. So you might want to, while your internet is working, go to Facebook.com on the World Wide Web and do a search for National Weather Service Guam. I'm told that they will go live with that feed about 8:15. I got a fair idea of what is going to be in there. Some of it that Landon and I have already talked about. We are going to get a little bit of a break here with possibly 140 mile an hour wind as opposed to 160, 170 mile an hour wind. We're still going to have some pretty big gusts out there, so be wary of all of that. And that's why we're trying to get you into the shelters as much as you possibly can. Hopefully you don't need anything, got all the biscuito and the Spam and a cold beer and whatever it is that you're going to need to make it through what is going to be a longish day. A couple of friends of mine. Remind me to tell you yesterday about a running couple friends of mine that decided they wanted to go run instead of sit out and wait the storm. Stand by now. It's time for Fox News.
Talks continue. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. But the White House says no deal on raising the debt limit ceiling has been reached.
With just a little more than a week before a Treasury estimated X date on the debt limit, White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre remains optimistic about negotiations between the president's staff and the House Speaker's office.
If everyone is working in good faith and recognizes that no one is going to get, either side is going to get exactly what they want, we'll get it done.
President Biden and Speaker Kevin McCarthy both concede major differences remain over cutting spending and increasing revenues. Republican leaders insist any agreement must spend less next year than what the federal government is spending this year.
Fox's Jared Halpern at the White House. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen warned Congress again yesterday that the U.S. could default as soon as June 1st if no deal is reached. A House Republican negotiator said they're miles apart and no meetings are scheduled for tonight. And White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre says President Biden is deeply concerned after Russia extended the detention of Wall Street Journal reporter Evan Gershkovich by another 3 months.
We have been very clear that the claims against him are baseless. Russia should release Evan and Paul Whelan immediately.
Paul Whelan is a former Marine who was also accused of spying. He's been held since 2016. A trial date of next March is set for former President Trump for the hush money case against him.
He will not be able to have any other engagements and must be here in court in person. The judge also reiterated that he must follow the protection order that has been issued in this that restricts the former president's ability to share any of the discovery evidence in this case on his social media platforms.
Fox's Brian Yen is outside the courthouse in New York City. Trump is calling the trial election interference because it falls during the 2024 primary season. America is listening to Fox News.
From the Fox News Podcasts Network, Fox News Rewind Financial Crisis 08.
This is an extraordinary period for America's economy.
A look back at the biggest financial crisis since the Great Depression.
The market is not functioning properly.
And the events leading up to it from the people who were there.
You started to see the Dow plunge in synchronicity with the vote on the House floor.
Subscribe now at foxnewspodcasts.com or wherever you download podcasts.
Never, ever 100% trust Wall Street.
New from the Fox News Podcasts Network.
I'm Dana Perino, co-host of The Five and co-anchor of America's Newsroom. Join me for Season 3 of my limited time podcast, Everything Will Be Okay. I'll chat with guests who have had major career or life pivots and people who have persevered and are leaving a trail of inspiration for all of us to follow. Of course, we'll have some laughs along the way. Make sure you subscribe to this series wherever you download podcasts. I'm Dana Perino, and everything will be okay.
Illinois officials released the results of an investigation claiming sexual abuse of children by Catholic clergy decades ago.
Illinois Attorney General Kwame Raoul says state investigators found from 1950 to 2019, 451 Catholic clerics sexually abused nearly 2,000 children.
It is my sincere hope that this report will shine light on those who violated their positions of power and trust to abuse innocent children, and on the men in church leadership who covered up that abuse.
Explaining there are far more victims than the 103 the church previously acknowledged. A preliminary report by Raoul's predecessor alleges the state's diocese deemed only 26% of allegations they received to be credible, not investigating or deeming the remaining 74% to be unsubstantiated. Kristen Goodwin, Fox News.
A high-end fitness equipment maker revamps its image.
Peloton is undergoing a significant rebranding and ditching its identity as a seller of exercise bikes and equipment to health technology for all, according to its chief marketing officer, Leslie Burland. The company is unveiling a new marketing plan and rolling out new pricing for tiered memberships that ranges from $12.99 to $24 a month, and said that its app now offers the largest number of free classes since its launch back in 2018. Peloton experienced incredible sales growth during the height of the pandemic, but sales began to dwindle in 2021 as more people returned to gyms.
Fox's Hillary Barsky. Netflix is cracking down on password sharing. The company says it will limit viewership to people living in the same household. Subscribers who pay for standard or premium plans will be able to allow another person outside their household for an additional $8 a month. Subscribers can still watch Netflix while they travel. I'm Lisa Lacera, and this is Fox News.
Hafa, this is Josh here at APL. Our expertise and extensive network can help you grow your business and reach out to more global markets. As a responsible carrier, APL is also committed to a sustainable future, whether it's protecting the environment or investing our efforts in giving back to the community. Our dedicated teams in Guam, Saipan, and on U.S. mainland are here to support you. Call 588-4651 or visit www.apl.com.
Now available. Our classic melt features 2 flame-grilled Whopper Junior patties, a quarter pound, melty American cheese, caramelized onions, and stacker sauce on 2 slices of toasted bread. BK Melts are also available in a spicy and bacony variation made for our super fans. Top off your meal with French fries or onion rings and a refreshing Sprite. Thank you, Guam, for 34 years. BK Tumon Bay, Agutya, Micronesia Mall, and the airport. You rule.
Day, I'm Donna DeJesus with a look at your local news on The Point, brought to you by Nanbo Insurance. Super Typhoon Mawar has been maintaining its course toward Guam with maximum sustained winds of 140 miles per hour. The National Weather Service says there's high potential for a direct hit by midday today. Forecasters are predicting this storm to be catastrophic and worse than Super Typhoon Pongsonghwa in 2002. Warning coordination meteorologist Landon Eidlet says by tomorrow morning, the landscape will be radically altered. Science and Operations Officer Brandon Eidlet says most, if not all, of the island would be without power and communications by tonight. He says tropical storm winds are likely to remain until tomorrow morning, and there's potential for a 36-hour period of at least tropical force winds. And Adelup spokesperson Crystal Paco San Agustin says residents who are not in fully reinforced concrete homes or in southern villages are urged to go to the nearest shelter immediately. Here is the list of shelters. In the north, Machinaunau Elementary, Maria Ujoa, Upi, and Weddingale Elementary. Astumbo Elementary is already maxed out, so residents in that area should head to an alternate shelter in the area. In central Guam, BP Carbolito and GW High School, and in the south, Harry S. Truman Elementary, Inarajan Middle School, Maritzo Martyrs, and Talafofo Elementary. MU Lujan is closed. Please seek an alternate shelter in the area. There is no busing to these shelters, so residents seeking shelter should go to the nearest school no later than 9 o'clock this morning. More news after this. President Joe Biden has approved an emergency declaration for Guam and has ordered federal assistance to supplement local response efforts. The declaration authorizes FEMA to coordinate all disaster relief efforts intended to alleviate hardships caused by the emergency and to provide assistance for required emergency measures. A release states that emergency protective measures under the Public Assistance Program will be provided at 75% federal funding. Governor Lou Leon Guerrero declared a state of emergency on May 21, stressing that Mawar represented an imminent, credible, and significant threat to the health, safety, and welfare of Guam. The next day, she sent a letter to Biden informing him that supplementary federal assistance would be necessary to save lives and protect property on island. And the American Red Cross is mobilizing volunteers and resources that will evolve along with the needs of the community. Currently, a team of volunteers is on island to help support the response. Additional resources and workforce stand ready as the needs arise. Guam Chapter Executive Director Cheetah Blaze recommends that all households have an emergency kit and stay tuned to the latest information. Red Cross also encourages local residents to learn about ways to volunteer in the event of needs post-storm. Preparedness resources can be found online at redcross.org/prepare. Information and registration to be a volunteer is on redcross.org/volunteer. And those were your top stories. Now back to Ray with weather.
Okay, I'll get around to weather, but first, you said something about the news was brought to you by Nanbo Insurance. Go green, go hybrid, go to Nanbo Insurance, and your next power bill is on us. Insure your hybrid car at Nanbo and get up to $350 towards your next power bill. That's instant savings for keeping our island clean and green. Nanbo has been providing Guam with over 50 years of reliable and affordable auto insurance. At Nanbo, it pays to go green. Terms and conditions apply. Visit nanbo.com or call 477-9754 for details. Think about weather now. Let me see if I can squeeze some of this off the screen and onto the actual radio where you might be able to. Why do I have to plug in my password every single time on the iPad? All right. This is what we got. The typhoon warnings are in effect right now, and this is what they're describing for today. North tropical storm force winds, 50 knots, gusting to 70 knots, rising to typhoon force strength, 75 knots, gusting to 125 starting this morning, increasing to 130 knots, gusting to 170 by mid-afternoon. Now, I want to underscore a couple of things they were talking about early this morning. That's when we're going to start, maybe in about an hour from now, seeing those 50-knot winds coming in, and then it will get gustier. Then we're going to have sustained winds of around 74, 75 miles an hour, again, gusting to about 125 before it gets to be midday. It will increase to 130 mile an hour sustained winds with gusts to 170 knots by mid-afternoon. That's about 140 miles an hour, subsiding to 90 knot gusts with 90 knots, gusting to 120 near sunset. Sorry, they keep putting that KT after the numbers. Combined seas 16 to 19 feet, building to 22 to 35 feet. Seas may be in excess of 45 feet within the eye wall of Mawar. Widespread, locally heavy showers and scattered thunderstorms are in today's forecast. Tonight, we're still going to have to deal with south typhoon force winds. It will change directions, and for those of you that have never been through an ice strike, this is what it's going to be like. The winds at some point will subside, and you'll go, okay, that's it. It's over. It's not over. It may be a fairly brief respite. I wouldn't recommend going out. But if you absolutely positively have to go out there and do something that's got to be, please make it save a life. Then, yeah, by all means do that. but otherwise stay indoors because the other side of the storm is going to be coming at you with winds from the opposite direction that they had been blowing. We're going to see that tonight. Winds up to 70 knots, gusting to 95 early, will subside to 40, gusting to 55 towards sunrise. Combined seas 19 to 23 feet, widespread locally heavy showers and scattered thunderstorms. Do you hear we're still throwing around 55 knot gusts around sunrise tomorrow morning? This is going to be sticky, guys. It's going to be around for a while. South tropical storm force winds 35 knots, gusting to 50. Combined seas Thursday, 17 to 20. And we'll watch and see as the wind begins to die down slowly. South winds 15 to 25 knots by Thursday night. By Friday, almost nothing. South winds 15 to 20 knots. Wind waves 3 to 4 feet, about normal. And we've got a normal weekend ahead of us. Although I got a feeling that this is going to be anything but a normal weekend with everybody kind of digging out from whatever it is that's going to get piled on us by Super Typhoon Mawar. And not much that we can look forward to here. It is a slow-moving storm, unfortunately. The good news is it hit a rough spot where it's not going to be able to intensify as much as it is. But 140-mile-an-hour sustained winds is still going to do a lot of damage over a long period of time. And so that's why we hope that you have made all of the preparations necessary. More on dealing with that in just a little bit. In the meantime, portions of the Ray Gibson Show brought to you by APL, American President Lines, a global presence with a local home. Today's not a good day to buy a new car. Maybe next week you're going to go and, you know what, two things. New car to replace one that maybe got scratch and ding during the typhoon, or go and get yourself a new car with maybe a minor scratch and ding over at the Nissan car lot. Might have one or two of those with an incredible deal. I wonder if they're going to have a Super Typhoon Mawar deal. Right now, you can talk to them about getting yourself into a ride, 0 down payment, and they'll pick up the first 3 payments on all kinds of incredible rides. Find out more at NissanGuam.com on the World Wide Web. Guys over at Subway aren't delivering today, but maybe tomorrow, day after, we can get yourself, go to that Good to Go app and get yourself some of the incredible Subway sandwiches in their super awesome Subway series. You use Good to Go, they can bring it right to you. Isn't that going to be nice? More on the Ray Gibson Show after these.
Guam Regional Medical City is a leader in foot and ankle care in the Marianas. Our podiatry clinic aims to provide exceptional treatments for diabetes, ingrown nails, arthritis, corns, foot and ankle injuries, and much more. Let's get you back on your feet. To learn more, call GRMC's referral office at 671-633-GRMC. That's 671-633-4762. GRMC, reflecting our commitment to providing safe and quality patient care.
It's the Ray Gibson Show. Morning talk that matters. Call now, 888-TALK. That's 888-8255.
Yeah. Look at me. I'm all proud. I'm using, like, Joe, did you hear me? I used the element in the program that wasn't a commercial or a theme. I'm so proud of me. Yeah, that's the deal here. Just after 8 o'clock in the morning, and I think you've gotten all of the information that I have that I can share with you. And now it's the part where you share with me. What's it like where you're at? What are your circumstances? What are your observations? It can't all come down to Ray Gibson talking about how there was nobody on the road here this morning, or my random memories of Super Typhoon Pamela and Pong Sanghua and all of the other ones. But I've got some of my favorite stories that might come from out of there. But dying to find out what things are like where you are. Don't be shy. 888-8255, 888-TALK. You might need to put the 671 in front of that. And it doesn't even need to be the most important thing in the world. But there's a great, vast community of people that are listening. And what I've always found in situations like this is it's nice to hear from each other. Nice to got the guy on the radio and he's reading the news and telling you where the typhoon is, but otherwise it's nice to hear from other people. What is your situation like? What's it looking like in your backyard? What are you doing differently this time than you have done in storms past? Is your situation different? Sorry, I'm going to roll into one of my other favorite memories. I recall once upon a time, my mother, out of an abundance of caution, decided that she was going to buy a generator. And we bought a generator at Mom's house. And this must have been right around oh, wow. Well, this is not even Pong Sanghua. This would go back to the late 90s, I want to say. But we bought it and figured out how to install it. Had a guy come down, put a pad. I mean, it's a big generator. And all of the disconnect switches and things like that. And then the guy went away, and near as we can tell, we've never turned it on. Because we just never had a big enough storm. It was always these little nuisance storms, and sometimes the power didn't even go out with those. And I figured that was my mom's way of blessing us forever. I'm going to buy a generator, and we're never going to use it because we'll never need to. But it's nice to have if it's there in the background. How many of you are working with generation? How many of you big generator, little generator, just a little guy? Solar generators. I know a couple of people that have invested in those. I was thinking about getting one just because, ham radio operator. It might be fun to have something that I might be able to use to maintain short range communications and maybe keep my iPhone and my iPad charged. But to the degree that it has been useful for me, now I've got a solar panel with a USB port in the back of it that will plug into anything that's USB powered. And I found that does a good job. And it's something that's easy and it folds, so I can take it to the beach and use it there to keep things charged. Or I can just be, a mature guy and plug my phone into the wall when it needs to get recharged. I don't know. Your mileage may vary. 888-825-5888-TALK. Guam Power Authority came out with a release yesterday, asked me to read it immediately after the passage of a storm, typhoon conditions. With conditions of readiness 4 are issued, GPA will begin its restoration of service processes. The critical restoration priorities will include Ray Gibson's house. I'll be darned, it's right there in the paper. Then the hospital, critical water wells and wastewater facilities, critical infrastructure facilities. We've got communications, schools, shelters, public safety, health, and ports of entry. Residents are asked not to inundate or overwhelm GPA troubled dispatch lines with inquiries regarding service restoration. Sorry. Everybody in the world, that's the question, isn't it? The kids are going to ask, where is their school tomorrow? And everybody else wants to know, when is my power coming back on? As restoration of power progress and communication systems are restored, the authority's automated meter infrastructure or smart meter network and supervisory control and data acquisition, also known as SCADA, will know the areas experiencing outages and will be able to locate outage pockets within the villages and assign line crews to make repairs. All right. Well, that's something that JB and I talked about on the radio as well. This is not, like I said, your father's GPA. We've got technology now, and you've got the smart meter in your house. Hey, you remember when people were talking about smart meters the way they talk about 5G? But anyway, so you've got a smart meter in your house, and it will know when it's on or off. And if it's not on, it won't have the ability to go out there and tell the guys over at the Power Authority that the meter is going around. Therefore, it should make it so they look at the system and go, okay, that smart meter or 2 or 3 in that neighborhood in Ledzang seems to be off right now. Maybe we need to send somebody over there. Might also do the same thing. May or may not. I'm trying to figure out how it works with weatherheads, which is one of the things that I'm rather concerned about. Is the nature of the weatherhead over at my house? Is it safe? Is it all right? Stand by. I think I might be able to get the feed from National Weather Service and their 8:15 chat thing going. Stand by. Let me see if I can.
Areas.
Yeah.
But as this eye gets closer to us, those typhoon force winds and greater will rapidly increase across the island. And so we're going to go ahead and get it started. Brandon, are you ready at the big screen TV?
Just pulling up the big screen TV. We took a hit with that power, so getting in.
We're going to stall over here, but we're going to talk about the latest on what is Typhoon Mawar. This is the advisory number 16 from the Joint Typhoon Warning Center at 7 o'clock this morning. At 7 o'clock, that was located at 12.7 degrees north, 145.4 east. That was about 70 miles southeast of Guam. It was moving northwestward or heading at 310 degrees at a slow 6 miles per hour. That was also 100 miles south of Rota, 160 miles south of Tinian, and 170 miles south of Saipan. Again, Rota, Tinian, and Saipan, you have dodged a bullet with this one. This will keep well to the south of Tinian and Saipan, but still take care of your safety and your concerns as weather does push through the region. Brandon will get into those details very shortly. And we're looking out the window and we're seeing the trees are starting to thrash out there. So this is just a sign of what things are going to come. Brandon, if you can get a wind reading on that. So again, 7 o'clock, maximum sustained winds have dropped from super typhoon status of 155 miles per hour overnight. They dropped down to about 140 miles per hour as we're going through our eye wall replacement cycle. We've also had a lot of dry air training into the system, and that's helping keep things a little bit more stable for us across Guam. But of course, we're going to see the showers come in, especially on the east side, the southeast, and the south side. So whoever's on the south side and the southeast side of this eye, we'll see maximum conditions. And let me switch over to another screen to show the latest forecast track of this storm. We're looking at a passage still over Guam. This latest track has shifted just slightly southward, maybe about 5 miles, with a direct passage over Guam. Does that mean the rest of Guam is out of the woods? That is incorrect. All of Guam will be feeling typhoon force conditions, with the strongest conditions, particularly over southern Guam, central Guam, where that eye wall will be passing over. So whoever's under the eye wall, expect training torrential rainfall for a period of time as this thing treks slowly over Guam later this afternoon. We are looking about a 4 p.m. passage with this latest track, so 4 p.m. sitting right over the heart of southern Guam in the southern mountains. So folks down there, if you have any flash flooding concerns, particularly the Barcenas housing area in Maritzo, please make sure you're on higher ground. Make sure you're not anywhere close to the river down there around Route 4. Also coastal areas on windward side of southeastern Guam, we're going to be dealing with storm surge, inundation, all those problems. So again, if you are not yet to higher ground, please, 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 please get to a shelter before 9 o'clock this morning. You are running out of time to get to safety. We're going to track through this typhoon and see hour by hour about what we can expect. So right now we're on the threshold of what is severe tropical storm force winds. Those are sustained 58 miles per hour and greater. And so this is just a rough area of where that wind field sets up. But as we go on forward, this is at 7 o'clock this morning. If we go to 8 o'clock, it's tracking slowly toward Guam. Those winds will be gradually increasing across the area through the morning. But once those typhoon force winds that are tightly packed around the center of the storm, those winds will significantly and rapidly intensify across the island. So again, 9 o'clock, if you need to get shelter, if you need to get to higher ground away from rivers, creeks, streams, coastal areas, this is your time to do so as this approaches. And again, wrap that up by 9 o'clock this morning as time is running out. We're looking at the possible arrival of typhoon force winds around noon today to eastern parts of Guam, especially southeastern Guam. And that's going to trek on forward, spreading across the island through the afternoon. So typhoon force conditions arriving by noon today and continuing through the evening hours, with peak conditions for Guam around 4 p.m. But those peak conditions will extend from roughly 1 p.m. through 6 p.m. So we're looking at that CPA, but those conditions, those heavy weather conditions, will extend well before and well after closest point of approach. So do not fixate your thoughts on impacts around the CPA. That's just a matter of technicality of its passage. Once it passes, those winds will start to decrease through the afternoon and evening hours. So by 7 p.m., much of Guam is still in typhoon force conditions. 8 p.m., 9 p.m., 10 p.m., those typhoon force winds are projected to leave our western shores, but still tropical storm force winds will persist through tonight and through early tomorrow morning, likely to around sunrise or shortly after. So again, this is keeping very much in theme with our communications for several days now. Sun down Tuesday through sun up Thursday. Today will be the worst of it. And a couple more statements regarding the threats of Typhoon Mawar. We have triple threats. That's torrential rains that may result in landslides and flash flooding, catastrophic wind, and life-threatening storm surge. This is expected for Guam today, with potentially catastrophic coastal flooding for southeastern and southern portions of Guam. This is a worst-case scenario with that passage just over southern Guam, with maximum waves surging into southeastern Guam and the eastern shores of the island. A mandatory evacuation order was initiated by the governor of Guam yesterday due to this severity, this threat. Storm surge potential is extreme. Please see the storm surge and surf information within our local statement. And you can find that on the webpage, weather.gov/GUM, as a large storm surge and coastal impacts are expected, particularly for coastal areas just north of the eye of Typhoon Mawar. Additional information. For precautionary preparedness actions, it's too late to make any further attempts to secure your shutters or other preparatory concerns. Conditions are setting in at this time. Residents should remain in shelter with sturdy concrete homes with concrete roofs or wherever you are. So again, if you're not in one of these types of structures, please seek that immediately. You're running out of time. So if the eye passes overhead, do not go outside. Extreme winds will rapidly return. Do not venture outside if conditions rapidly improve and the winds settle down. You are within that eye wall passage. Again, do not venture outside until the government of Guam gives the all clear, and that will happen after we cancel typhoon warnings. That will happen sometime Thursday after the system has passed. And so I'm going to hand this over to Brandon, the Science and Operations Officer, here with more details on this storm.
Yes, so I wanted to show you this radar loop again. This is this ends at about an hour and a half ago, but we see a couple of signs of an eye wall replacement cycle. So this is one of the reasons we saw the super typhoon category drop down to a category 4 typhoon. So we're seeing the one diminishing inner eye, and then we see the larger eye that is slowly contracting. So talking with Joint Typhoon Warning Center this morning, that is what led to their decision to drop the overall intensity of this Typhoon Mawar. But as this new eye begins to contract over the next 5 to 6 hours, we could see a slight increase in the intensity as the eye ultimately approaches Guam. And so we were talking about, well, having a technical difficulty. Let's see. Here we go. There we go. Yes, so let me put this up. As Lena was talking about, we are still looking at a Category 4 typhoon. Guam, we're still right in par with seeing those Category 4 conditions. Later on, picking up this morning, increasing into this afternoon, before finally subsiding around and after sunset, and then continuing with tropical storm conditions overnight. So there's been a couple questions. What kind of storms would this compare to? And probably 1976 Pamela, 2002's Pongsona. Yesterday we were looking at the worst case scenario that we could see something approaching 1962's Karen, which seems to be the worst on record to have struck Guam. So that was a significant storm, and hopefully this typhoon does not intensify too much from where it is right now. Again, the latest track, we are still expecting to see those conditions ramp up the next several hours. The typhoon is just to the southeast of Guam. It is continuing to approach us. We're going to see conditions just steadily worsen as we head toward midday today, Wednesday. 140 miles per hour currently. We could top out around 145 miles per hour. That would be consistent with also including gusts to around 170, 175 miles per hour. So this is why it is absolutely vital that you find shelter in a fully reinforced concrete shelter.
And we have some questions coming in regarding storm surge. Realistically, what can people expect regarding storm surge heights?
Yes, so we're going to be seeing some massive sea conditions developing, and I will get to that in just a couple of slides. But we are looking at the potential for substantial storm surge. We're looking at some past typhoons in Guam's history that had some notable effects, and I'll talk about that in just a few moments. But as we've already mentioned, everybody in the Marianas should be in shelter right now. Tropical storm force conditions will be onsetting across the CNMI from Rota, Tinian to Saipan, and then especially for Guam, if you're not in a fully reinforced concrete structure, you are at risk. Thursday, we are going to slowly come out of this situation. Remember, allow first responders, utilities, public works folks to clear the roads to get the islands up and operational. Recovery will take time. We will wake up to a different scene Thursday morning. So stay put. Listen for communications from your local government and especially for the eventual all clear. But remember, we need to have the roads cleared first, and especially for emergency responders. Again, emergency shelter numbers. You do have a little bit of window looking at the latest radar loop before another band of rain comes across and brings some really substantial wind gusts. We do have space available at a lot of the shelters on Guam. So call ahead 671-478-0208 and make sure that vacancy still exists at the shelter that you're going to try to go for. And then do call ahead if you have pets to bring in the shelter. Yesterday we showed this kind of a wobble in the track. It continues. And so we're seeing that right along the Joint Typhoon Warning Center forecast track. It's a really good forecast, but we're going to see the eye of the storm continue to veer left or right of that track, but it is still coming toward Guam. Still prepare for the worst case scenario later on today with Category 4 conditions. Looking at the satellite imagery, you can see the evidence of the eye wall replacement cycle. The eye yesterday was very clear, very well defined. That is not the case this morning. There is some evidence that we may have a clearing of storms around the center of Mawar. Again, visible satellite imagery. You can see all the heavy showers and thunderstorms bubbling up east of Saipan and Tinian. Those showers will be coming in later on this morning. You're not going to be seeing sustained, ongoing heavy torrential rains across the CNMI, but you will still see some quickly accumulating rains across the islands. Saipan, you still will have some flood concerns, especially in some of the hillier terrain and some of that water runoff. Rhoda, you're going to be right on the edge of some of those smaller sporadic heavy showers and then some of the more prolonged showers closer to the center of Mawar. But Guam, continue to expect intense torrential rains. Areas that don't usually see flooding could be susceptible to seeing flooding. So if you go back into the past several years and kind of recall if your yard has flooded, if your neighborhood has flooded, that is a good potential. If you've seen water nearby, that may be a good potential for what you could expect with this. We've been calling for the potential of 15 to 20 inches of rain. With Mawar moving fairly slow, about 6 miles per hour, that could prolong those heavier showers, especially as we saw on radar. The south side seems to be the asymmetric heavier showers that will be more prolonged. And so we'll show this again for people who are joining in. The latest on Typhoon Mawar, it is a Category 4, 140 miles per hour typhoon moving northwest at 6 miles per hour. It is still approaching Guam as of this morning, Wednesday morning, 7 a.m. We're still going to see conditions steadily worsening. We are at the edge of that 58 mile per hour wind radii, and this storm is going to gradually move toward Guam. Through the morning hours, conditions will steadily deteriorate with the stronger gusts becoming ever so much stronger. Thus far this morning, we've seen gusts reaching up to about 40, almost 45 miles per hour, some of these rain showers. We're still expecting to see gusts upwards of 150 miles per hour closer to the eye wall. Thus far, we've seen about 2 to 4 inches of rain in the past 24 hours. This is just a taste of what's to come throughout the next day, next 24 to 36 hours. Those rains are steadily going to accumulate. And now we're going to look at some of the tide stations. This is Opera Harbor Tide Station. And so in the red, we're looking at wind gusts. So we're seeing this gradual increase in wind gusts, especially as the heavy showers move across. So we've been tipping up closer to 30, 40 knots. The tropical storm force wind speed is sustained winds of 34 knots. So we're starting to see tropical storm force wind gust, but eventually those sustained winds are going to steadily increase as we move through today. So this will be a fairly substantial wind event for us, of course. Looking at the Pago Bay water levels, this is just the water levels. This is not the waves, but the water levels. We're seeing almost a 2-foot surplus over the forecast tide levels. So that is just 2 feet. That is based on the water piling up in Pago Bay. Water is piling up with the winds. The pressure is dropping, and that also allows the water surface to bulge up. So there's a couple of effects with tropical cyclones that cause the sea surface to rise. A very real possibility later today, the eye of the storm could pass over Guam and could pass over much of Guam. If that is the case, you could see some breaks in the clouds. You could see a little peak of blue sky. That is not the end of the storm. We're going to see northeast to northerly winds first. If the eye comes over, you're going to see calm conditions for perhaps up to an hour based on the slow storm motion and whatever size of the eye it is. If we're looking at an 18-mile wide eye moving at 6 miles per hour, that would equate to about 3 hours within the eye. So keep in mind, if you get into the eye, you could be in there for several hours. That is not the end of the storm. What's going to happen is the other side of the eye wall is going to sweep across your area, and then very rapidly the winds are going to increase from the opposite direction. So those winds and rains will return very quickly. If you venture outside, you could be caught in it. There would be flying debris. Anything that could be lofted up by the winds could become a deadly projectile. Keep that in mind. Stay inside. That is not the end of the typhoon. And anyone caught outside could be at extreme risk of injury or death due to those flying projectiles. Some of the latest satellite-based wave heights, we're still looking at around 29, 30 feet down to the southeast of Guam. We're waiting to see some fresh satellite passes later on this morning that can get some new estimates of those wave heights. But this is quite substantial for open ocean seas. And right now we are expecting to see higher seas as Typhoon Mawar approaches Guam. Looking at the Ipan buoy, latest buoy observations, we are looking at 15 to 20 foot seas currently. So the seas are steadily on the rise. We have seen some pictures on social media from Jeff's Pirates Cove where there is some flooding coming up. The water is rushing up onshore fairly high. So those flood concerns are expected to be realized later on today.
And let me say thank you to Jeff's Pirates Cove for those images on Facebook. Please, if you're having problems, do send us photos. And Jeff, thank you for the photos. If you can keep us up to date with conditions on your side of the island in Ipan, we definitely appreciate the reports, Jeff.
Yes, and thank you. Looking at the wave models for Ipan buoy, we're still on the rise. So the observations are pretty close to the modeled heights. So the modeled heights are in red, the observations in blue. And so we do see these two spikes, and that is reflective of the calmer winds of the eye. So seas will come down. And so the model is resolving this feature, but we're still looking at 30-foot seas at the Ipan buoy, quite substantial. Additionally, we're looking at some of the max wave heights. So this is the peak wave heights so far detected by the buoy. We're seeing 25 to 30-foot waves. These are some of the massive, larger waves, constructive interference due to the turbulent sea surface, waves coming from different directions, resulting in these massive waves. And so those are the ones, sometimes they're called rogue waves, but this is those rarer, infrequent, massive waves that can just occur in the open ocean, and we, on occasion, see those detected at the buoys. For the Retidium buoy, we are still on the rise. We're pushing 12 to 13 feet. Certainly not as much as Ipan, because Retidium buoy is up on the northwest side of Guam. It is still fairly well protected in the lee side of Guam, so it's not as exposed to the long-fetched wind waves that the Ipan buoy is. But we are still expected to see conditions, sea heights increase. This is why you see this little discrepancy with the buoy height showing seas well below the model forecast. And that's the only reason right now is that the Retidium buoy is still sheltered on the northwest side of Guam with the large swell haven't quite made it around to the Ritidian buoy. So again, we'll go to one last shot of the radar. There's quite a bit of asymmetric heavy showers from the south side to the north side. If the eye goes a little bit north of Guam, all these heavy rains are going to come right across the southern part of Guam. That is going to lead to some significant flood risk. So if you are in a low-lying area, do take caution for the potential for significant flooding. And as we wrap up, we'll probably have a few final words, but I do want to give a thanks to all the local media that are really doing a great job helping to get the message out with the system. I want to give a thanks to the national and international media who are also helping to tell the story what Guam and the Marianas are facing with the system. We've got a lot of people on Guam who have family and relatives in the U.S. who are very concerned. So thank you so much for helping to spread the word. And I'm going to turn it over to Landon, who is going to give a little chat with some of our other office support staff.
So yeah, thank you, Brandon, for covering that. And again, I'm Landon Eidlet, the Warning Coordination Meteorologist. And let me borrow your microphone, Brandon. This is Dan, one of our non-meteorologists. The Weather Service is made up of people that are other than meteorologists. And so Dan, he's our IT guy. Dan, Jeff over there in the background, he's one of our electronics technicians. It takes a community for success. And so Dan's one of our community members here to make our office functional and successful. And so when we have these tropical cyclones threaten, we have all hands on deck for maximum support to make sure that we are functioning, providing the phone calls, those details, IT. What happens when we start losing communications, our network, our technology, our machinery, facilities? And so how are we set up right now? Are we in a good position for this storm?
Thankfully, we are right now. We haven't lost anything. We do expect probably once we have landfall to probably lose our internet. And we haven't lost our phones, which is on the VoIP system. And we're still receiving our satellite data.
I'm going to hire that guy. That's what I'm going to do. Landon, Brandon, you shouldn't have put him on the screen. I'm looking for somebody to maybe take care of some IT for me in the building. That was kind of a longish view, but I'm very, very happy that it was as comprehensive as it was on what is going on with Super Typhoon Mawar, however you want to pronounce it, that is obviously in the area. You heard the bits and pieces of decent news here is while it goes south, a whole lot of that rain, if it goes south the right way, maybe we're not going to get inundated. We've got that dry patch and the reformation of the eye, which means that it's not going to be as intense as originally predicted, and I think that's fantastic. We've gotten some pictures, if you can still see on YouTube Live and Rumble and ThePOINT.gu. The first casualties of the storm have come, and I think this is over at Sherry's backyard. Looks like we're going to need a new Putitainobu that gets planted up in that place. If you need to, let me know. My nephew, as it turns out, is doing a pretty decent job of growing Putitainobus and gave me one to put in the house. Well, actually, he said outside, but I think it's inside the house because I don't want anything bad to happen to it. Guam on French news do I have a link to that? Maybe I'll take a look at that a little bit later on. Power out in Dededo. We had a couple of surges while the Landon boys were talking from the National Weather Service. I don't know that it impacted anything outbound from the radio station. Things seem to be working inbound, so I'm going to say that it was just a couple of power glitches. My guess is those are going to be coming in with a little bit more frequency as the hours go by. I'm starting to get some pictures. Interesting stuff here from friends. My buddy Jim sent me a video of what it looks like about 10-15 minutes ago over in the backyard at Jimmy D's, which is up on this side of the island, and thinking about that whole area, which is probably going to get a little bit pounded. I don't know what's going to happen to the buildings, but we do know that the storm surge could be putting a whole nother layer of sand up at Dunca's. Got another image here from, wait a second, this one here looks like it's leading out the back door of Matapang Beach Park, a little bit above Matapang Beach Park, and you can see some of the winds are starting to come in now. Not a whole lot by way of activities over at the beach park, and hopefully those canoes that are on the ground don't go blown away too hard, too fast, and too furious. Doesn't look like there's anybody on the beach either. Not a good day for relaxing hanging out there with your cold ones and your bikinis and your best buddies and things like that. We're going to probably have to wait some time before anybody has got time to get all of that kind of thing done once again. Looking at the time here in the studio, it's 8:46 in the morning. I knew that I was not going to be on the air for the entire duration of a 4-hour duration of a morning show. There are now beginning to be activities, I think, as the wind is coming up and the rain is starting to pick up a little bit. I'm beginning to feel a little bit of instability in some of our systems. I want to be able to keep track and at least make sure that I've always got a radio station to go live on at some point. So what I'm probably going to do here within a couple of minutes is throw to the network, probably run through another news cycle at the top of the hour. And if I have any new information, I will bring it to you either at the top of the hours or the bottom of the hours of the radio stations. That's generally when the stateside programs go into their newscasts. And so we'll see what happens. There's also a possibility that we might not be able to get the stateside programming on the air, everything tied to the internet. And as I said, we're detecting a little bit of instability on that. But as long as the systems are up, and it is possible, what I might end up doing is taking one of the music stations, if they're still on the air, and pipe them into this one, and then just move the talking over to that side. I'm not sure exactly the way it's going to work. And the other thing is, if you don't think that that's the right way to do this, if you think maybe there's others, you're probably right. There are a number of other radio stations that are out there, and to whatever degree they're able to maintain a line of communications for you, then you know what? Thank you very much. I appreciate that you guys are out there holding on to your FCC credentials in the public service as a public servant. That is, the mode that we operate under here. At any rate, I'm going to take a look and see what we've got that is out there. But I did want to share finally this with you. The precautionary and preparedness actions. Now, this came from something that they put together in the middle of the night. And generally, you have the latest information that the National Weather Service has now. The next big update from JTWC with the latest prognostications and predictions and things like that probably isn't going to come down until 1. We're probably not going to see a new JTWC map until then. So in the meantime, you now know everything that the guys and the experts over at the National Weather Service have, and even your friend that has his own weather system at the house. You now know better than him. But I do want to give you an idea, wherever you are on Guam, what you may be in for. And some of the best instructions that I've seen in a long time. It says, stay calm and keep informed. Final preparations to protect life and property should already be complete. It is too late to make any further attempts to secure your shutters or other preparatory concerns. Do not venture outside until the government of Guam gives the all clear. This will be a very long event. If you're in the eye, you may experience calm conditions for an extended period of time. Remain inside. The conditions will rapidly deteriorate as the back edge of the eye wall approaches. The residents should remain in shelters within sturdy concrete homes, concrete roofs, or wherever you are. If you are out and you need to get to a shelter, there's a whole bunch of them that are open right now and will be until 9 o'clock. You've only got about 11 minutes, as the man says, to get to safety. If you're staying in the house, turn the refrigerator to maximum cold and keep it closed. Turn off the propane tanks and unplug small appliances. I'm recently the victim of some power surges that ruined a very, very expensive piece of equipment in my air conditioner. And so I just disconnected it from the mains. So if there's a surge in, out, up, down, it's not going to see that. I've disconnected other air conditioners in the house as well. Washing machines, they're basically motors with computers in them. So I'd go ahead and shut those off over at the mains. During the storm, fill the bathtub with water in case the tap water becomes unavailable after the storms. You need this to clean, to flush. Don't drink it. During the storm, stay inside and away from the windows in a building with concrete walls and a concrete roof. You should avoid power lines as they will be tilted or broken. Stay away from the ocean due to storm surge. Large ships should be secured as they'll be torn from their moorings. Do not venture outside when high winds are occurring or during temporary lulls, as flying debris can easily and suddenly cause serious injury. If the eye passes overhead, don't go outside. Extreme winds will rapidly return. You know, as they say about that 3 or 4 times. You know why? Because everybody likes to go outside when there's the eye of the storm. Once again, once conditions have improved on Thursday, stay in the shelter until the all-clear condition 4 is given by government officials. Probability of tropical storm typhoon conditions most likely to begin imminently. Intense eye-wall winds are expected between noontime and 5. You might have heard Brandon say it might be sticking around for a little bit. And in my mind, that's kind of a good thing because we've got the storm in the front, and then we've got the break while the eye is traveling over the island. And then we've got the back end of the storm, traditionally where the stronger winds are and heavier rains and things like that. But the good news is in that 10, 11-hour period that we're going to have this mawar over the island, at least we'll get a 3-hour break from the heavy winds. I don't know what you're going to do with yours, but I am just going to be happy that's 3 more hours that the house isn't going to get beat on by this storm. And I think that might be all I got to give for you right now. As I said, I might be back at right after the Fox News, let you know what else is going on if I get my hands on some new information. And otherwise, I want you to be safe on behalf of Jerry Robertson, Real Joe, and Donna D., who I thank immensely, even though they couldn't come in. They still were able to participate in the coverage here this morning and helping bring you news and information. And for our partners and all of our advertisers and our business people that we do business with, I will be here tomorrow when it's all clear time and Friday. And so I will be here to let people know when your places are open and whether you've got ice and cold beer and mosquito coil and all of that. And I'll try to pop in and out as best as I can, but we'll just have to wait and see what the gods of Mawar allow us to do. In the meantime, I'm going to jump to the network, and you'll be able to hear a little bit of Sean Hannity and what they're talking about over at that place. All right. So, KUSG, I got you 93.3. This is Pika's Best. We are The Point.
1,942 hands showing appreciation. 64 hands building a house for the homeless.